On this episode, we're going to be talking to Dr. Rebecca Norman. We're going to be talking to her about skin health, how to retain healthy skin as we age. We're going to be talking about red light therapy, if it actually works, what's the science behind it, and also the risks when it comes to Botox and fillers. In this episode, we really dive into the science behind aging. What causes it? How can we prevent it? And on that note, if you do enjoy these podcasts, if you can do me a huge favor and hit that subscribe button, 5-star button, whatever it is, wherever you are, I'd really appreciate it. It helps us so much more than you know, and the more likes and subscribes and all that kind of stuff we can get, the more incredible guests we can get on the podcast. And my promise to you is that I'll make these podcasts bigger and better than ever. Thank you. Without further ado, my name is Harrison Brown. This is the Into the Mind podcast, and please welcome Dr. Rebecca Norman. When people are looking into this to start with and looking into what you do, I think the first thing that comes to mind is what actually is a dermal filler? Like what is the definition of what you are injecting?
Okay, so a dermal filler is a sterile gel that's been manufactured in the lab, made of hyaluronic acid. So hyaluronic acid is a molecule that's in our body anyway. So we recognize it as a molecule of self, but we've created it artificially using bacterial replication. And then the gels get made of different consistencies based on how those molecules are placed together. So we create bonds between them. So you get a thicker gel or a thinner gel, depending on where you want to use it on the face. And we use them then strategically to place volume where we want it on the face.
And why would you need a thicker gel versus like a thinner? Is it because you're younger? Like, I'm just thinking, because I'm at the age now, I'm 28 now, and I'm starting to get to the age where like wrinkles are starting to appear. Oh, not quite. I'm getting the crow's feet and would that be a thinner gel used on me because I am slightly younger at the moment?
It's not on age particularly. It's on where we want to use the dermal filler. So, for example, if we want it to behave structurally and be strong and give support, we want a thicker gel. So we would use that in something like the cheeks or the chin area because it's going to hold structure much better. Whereas if we wanted to do some work on some fine lines around the lips or the lips themselves and give a bit of volume, we need to use a much softer filler because that area is much more mobile. And we're placing the filler more superficially as well. And because we don't want the filler to be seen in that zone, we use a softer product.
Okay, that kind of makes sense. And when you're doing these fillers, does that, like, and you'll forgive me, do you know a guy called Dr. Kieran Bong?
Kieran Bong. I have heard of his name, yeah.
Yeah, so I had him on, I'm going to say he was maybe episode 20. It was a long time ago now, but he was talking about the effects on the skin after the injections kind of, injected, essentially. Because it is, am I right in saying because it's a natural chemical, it dissolves over time?
Absolutely, yeah. So with hyaluronic acid fillers, they will dissolve over time because we've got an enzyme in our body that will dissolve them because we have it in our body anyway. So there is a metabolic pathway to break it down.
Okay, and then because of that, but like, would your skin recover from that, or would your skin remain slightly stretched?
I get asked this a lot, actually, about stretch. And I think it's about relativity of what you're doing with the product. When I'm treating people with dermal fillers, I'm looking at how people are aging, and a big part of aging in the face is volume loss, and it's volume loss at lots of different levels. So we get bone reabsorption, we get fat pad loss and descent, and those two things are what contribute to the changes that we see. So when we're looking to use dermal filler to help that and bring people back to where they were, so we're looking to replace what they've lost. So if you're replacing what somebody's lost, you're not overtly stretching them. You're putting them back to where they naturally were. So you're not going to get this degree of trauma and stretch on the skin that then, as it breaks down, that you're going to end up with sag. I suppose if you do use the products to extreme, so you see, when it's a bit out of vogue now, but the very big cheeks, the very big lips, that real stretch, potentially I think you might have a bit more issue there if someone who sports that look for a long time then decides they want none of it and they're just going to let it all break down or they're going to dissolve it. Someone in that situation might find that they've got a degree of laxity left from that stretch. I suppose the analogy that I often give to people is sort of like breast augmentation. If you
Mm.
go for a really big change and you really stretch it out, you're at risk of stretch marks with that anyway during the procedure. And if you take it out, clearly you've stretched and then you've gone back down. Whereas if you've got someone where you're just doing something a bit more natural that fits in very comfortably, you're not going to get that degree of stretch.
Okay, so and that would be the issue, not the issue, but I feel like the hesitancy that I have with this kind of stuff is when younger people, for example, like I when I was 21, it was really starting to come into, I don't want to say fashion, but it was really coming to the forefront, right? A lot of celebs were starting to get it, a lot of younger people were getting it. And as a 21-year-old, getting your lips stretched and then knowing that there's going to be a degree of the skin stretching as well that isn't going to fix itself, is that not like is it kind of damaging younger people?
I think possibly young people don't think that far ahead.
Yeah.
I think is the
Yeah.
biggest issue when people are young. That is a really hard question.
Is it, well, but I think you're right. Like, see, when I was a young guy, I'd go out and I'd get, pissed, and I'd go and get drunk and I'd do stupid shit. And I wasn't thinking about, 10 years ahead. There's so many people that I know with tattoos that think, why the hell, when I was 16 or 17 years old, get this tattoo? I suppose I agree. And this is the hesitancy I have, is that I agree with these procedures, given that somebody is of an age where they can make their own decisions and it's done by a clinician, a doctor like yourself. But I think when it comes to younger people, seeing someone on social media, Kim Kardashian, and being like, I want the same lips and I want the same this, would there be an element of you that would kind of steer them and say, listen, maybe you should wait a couple of years and then see how you feel?
Absolutely. I mean, that's part of the ethics of being a doctor, isn't it? That first you need to do no harm, and you are there to guide people, and you should, part of that is being able to say no. Um, I think people under 18 can't have these procedures in the UK. It's illegal. So already you've got someone that by definition is an adult and should be able to consent for themselves. And just because they might have a different opinion to you doesn't necessarily, and I may disagree that they're like, I need bigger lips. My lips are tiny. I might disagree and look at this beautiful 18, 19-year-old girl. I think, my goodness me, you're beautiful, you don't need this done. But if it's about sort of her confidence, how she feels, and what it's doing in terms of her self-esteem, and it's part of that conversation that goes on with the clinician before the procedure. So the way that most of us operate is that you have a big thorough consultation first, and you're going to spend time talking to this person, understanding their motivations, understanding their psychology, asking them questions and hearing what they've got to say in terms of screening for things like body dysmorphia, and checking that actually though you may disagree with them saying they've got small lips, their reasoning is sound and their understanding of what they're consenting for is strong. So I think there are people that I would say, you've got beautiful lips, you don't need any lip filler. But if they sort of meet all those criteria for me, that I think they're well informed, they've done their research, they understand what we're doing, I'd be very happy to do the procedure for them. I think where you do get into grey area is yes, that influence, that sort of social media drench that comes on, certainly the younger generations now, where there's this expectation that I want it to look a certain way and I want it to match that person. And I think you're right, maybe 7-8 years ago, it was a bit more that way. But I think the way that trends are going and the way sort of medical aesthetics is moving is actually a bit away from that now. And people are starting to recognize the importance of almost like being your best self, not trying to create yourself as this cookie cutter mold of, I want Kim Kardashian's lips, I want this brow lift, I want these different things to match other people. And I think being the best version of you, as sort of cheesy as that sounds, is definitely much more what people are looking for now. But to go back, I've got no problem with saying no to people. And my answer to them, if they're going to disagree with me saying no, is, my question I give back is, do you want me to make you look worse? Most people wouldn't answer yes to that question. If they do again, you're going to question the psychology. So I'm like, do you want me to make you look worse? No, then I'm not going to do that procedure, because I don't think it's going to be the right thing for you right now. And I think lips is a great example of that, in terms of there's a phenomenon called perceptual drift. And a lot of people get it with their facial aesthetic work. So with perceptual drift, so they come, say they've got a small upper lip, so they don't like the balance between their top and bottom lip. They go, I want a fuller top lip. I want the balance between my lips to be nicer. I love my bottom lip, but I just want the top one to match. So we do a little bit of filler in the top lip. They love them. After the procedure, the lips swell a little bit, just from the trauma of having it done, having the needles entered into the skin. So you have it done immediately after. They go, oh, I love them. The next day, they're a bit swollen. They go, oh gosh, they're a bit swollen. And then as the body heals and the swelling goes down, they go, oh, I kind of liked how that was. I kind of got used to it with the swelling. I liked it. And they may go on a couple of months, and then they'll go, it's all gone. I need to have more. So they'll come back and have more. It isn't all gone, but their brain has almost reset and gone, no, this was where I started. This was normal. And you can get this sort of slight veering off and this drift of what normal is. And that's how I think people end up in these situations where the proportions go off for their face. So it's not always more is more. And you need to remind people to stay grounded with where they came from, and say, I always sort of advise people, keep a picture of yourself before we started doing anything, because that's your reference point back. That is your reference point back to where we've come from, what your lips used to be like. So when you look at them one day and go, oh, they're tiny, it's all gone, it isn't. And they need to look back to that initial reference picture and go, oh no, there is still some damn filler there. I don't need to have more all the time.
Yeah, and I think you're right about what you were saying with the kind of culture shift. I mean, I don't know if you felt this, but I feel like when I was when I was like 18, 19, it was clubs and pubs and going out and getting smashed and going to techno festivals. And whereas now everyone's running around with their matcha latte and going to the, yoga, and it's so different. I've never experienced that, but I feel like potentially that's when the issues arose back in kind of 10 years ago, when that trend was very much Kim Kardashian. I want huge lips, I want huge cheeks, I want this. And I also think it intertwines perfectly with social media. Like, as someone that works on camera 90% of the time, whether it be YouTube or my Instagram or the Instagram podcast, people do comment on your facial features and they're quite mean about it. And I can understand how someone that's younger can really take that to heart and take it personally. And also I can understand that they potentially get used to the way they look, so they want to keep going and make it bigger. And it's this kind of never-ending cycle. Have you seen like a correlation between social media and people coming for these treatments?
I think social media definitely does play a role in what people want and what people potentially come and ask for. The demographic of patients that I have, I don't particularly get a huge amount of sort of the Gen Z, younger, real sort of TikTok kind of patients. I think just perhaps with what I put out in terms of my social media and my website, I naturally seem to attract women, probably mainly age 30 plus, 40 plus, definitely 50s, 60s. I even have patients in their 70s and 80s that come and have these sort of treatments, which I think is amazing. And I think they are less driven by the social media sort of influence. But certainly when I do get some of the young ones in their 20s, and it is interesting to hear the difference with how they are during their consultation and how they answer the questions, and what is bothering them or why, and the kind of reasons they'll show. They quite often will show somebody else's lips and say, I want lips like this. And it always makes me smile, because I say that's like that sort of going to the hairdressers with Jennifer Aniston's haircut back from the days of Friends, that everyone wanted that haircut. But if you don't have that hair, then, your hairdresser just can't create that. And that's what I sort of have to try and explain to them is, I'm not sure I can create that for you, because I've got your base to work with. I can't necessarily give this. And they also show pictures, and I will say, I want it to look like that. And I'm like, that girl wants it to look like that. That isn't real. And it can be really hard trying to say how much filtering, how much photo editing there is going on. That particularly the younger generation see that as, well, I need to achieve that. And it's not real. So what they're trying to achieve, and they're never going to get there.
Yeah, as a photographer as well, like I can quite clearly see what, especially when they're younger, right? Because they don't have a concept of what maybe looks off and what doesn't.
Yeah.
And I've been doing this for 10 years, right? So I can look at an image and be like, they've done X, Y, and Z, just because it was my job for so long. And when I swipe through Instagram now, or you know what actually was funny that happened the other day. And I don't want to throw them under the bus, but there's someone very close to me that's single now, and they were going through Hinge, and they were showing me their Hinge, and I was going, right, this is what's happened here, because you can see that the curves at the side, you know, the bricks are all merged in, right? They've brought their hips in, they've done X, they've done Y, they've made their face, they've whitened their teeth, they've done, and I was pointing out all these details, and he was like, I would not have noticed that otherwise. And I think that, like, I really do believe there should be something on Instagram that reads the metadata of a picture and goes, this is edited and this is what they've done. And because youths, especially when you're younger and you do compare yourselves to celebrities and the Kim Kardashians and your friends, like, it's natural. And I think that if you had that kind of warning sign, potentially it would kind of reinforce the idea that what you're seeing isn't real, it's fake, essentially.
I think there's one thing to have a good photograph taken, have nice lighting, have your makeup done nicely, and there's a whole other thing to properly be editing, changing things, like you say, adjusting where your eyebrow arch is, adjusting the shadow below the curve of your cheek. And yeah, people that aren't trained can't see it. But yet, like you say, there's no warning. And then obviously, we don't even probably want to get into the whole AI thing, but you can get these whole videos even created of someone that just doesn't exist. And those are crazy.
Yeah, have you seen there's supermodel pages now that I say supermodel, they're AI, but they've got millions of followers because guys in particular just don't pay attention to the fact that it's AI. They just they just see a good-looking girl and and it's like millions of followers, and they're making loads of money off of these pages that are literally a bot, and it's crazy.
I thought you were going to go to OnlyFans with that then. Because there's certainly the same going on there. I remember my husband showed me on X this guy that basically it was him, and the camera was reading him for the movements, the facial expression, but what it was creating was a beautiful girl. And, so this guy is earning a fortune on OnlyFans from other guys that are believing that it's this beautiful woman, and she just doesn't exist.
Yeah, but that's the scary thing, is that's what people are comparing themselves to.
Yeah.
And there's like when I was younger, especially, actually, it was maybe like 2 years ago when I first started the podcast. There was somebody on who was way smarter than me, and I can't remember who said the quote, but they were like, "Comparison's the thief of joy."
Absolutely.
And he was like, "Just remember that, because." Especially when you're in an industry where comparison is so natural and easy to do, because all you do is look up another Instagram account or look up another podcast or how someone looks, or there's a famous actor over there. And you do end up feeling shit about yourself because you're like, oh, well, I don't have a six pack and I'm not ripped like Chris Hemsworth. And I don't know. I just feel like, especially younger people, when they're looking to do these procedures, I would encourage them to have a depth of thinking as to, like, what really is it that's upsetting me? Is it because I'm looking at Instagram every day for 6 hours? Well, maybe I should cut that out prior to getting a procedure.
I love that comparison as the thief of joy, and in so many areas of life, it's really true. I think I really work hard with people to sort of talk about appreciation of where they are right now and all the good things about how they look right now, because the thing with aging, particularly for women, is it kind of is only downhill. The changes that are coming are going to be extra things that you're going to find hard to deal with when they arrive. And if you don't feel happy now, because I always give the example that people show you old photographs. So they come for a consult and they go, oh, but I really like how I looked in this picture, whether it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever. I really liked how I look here. And I said, but you are going to look back at pictures from today in 10 years' time and say the same thing. And what you need to do is really appreciate right now the good things about how you look right now, because it's not all terrible. It's not, and it having the odd tweak, having a little bit of toxin to relax your frown, having a little bit of lip filler so that your lip liner goes on better and it doesn't bleed up into the fine lines starting to appear around your lip. They're just subtle little treatments. Then they're not life-changing. If you're down, if you feel down about yourself or life is hard and you go, oh, but I'd get a better job, I'd be more successful, I'd meet a really great husband if. But those things don't correlate. That isn't the thing holding you back. How we look, it isn't the be all and end all. And I think sometimes when I say that to people, they're like, oh, but this is what you do as a job. And I'm like, my job is to make people feel happy and confident. Is what it boils down to. And how I do that for different people depends on that person and the discussion and the consultation we've had as to what can bring them their confidence back. So it's not about, if I fix this, then this will be better. And if you hear people say those sorts of things, then to me as a practitioner, that's a red flag of, we need to talk about this a little bit more, because this isn't the thing that's going to fix everything. And equally, if people are in sort of a turbulent situation in life, a marriage has broken down, or someone's just died and they're bereaved, but they've come to their appointment anyway and they burst into tears as they walk through the door, that is not the time to be doing anything to them. That is the time to give them a hug, let them talk, and say, do you know what, I'm going to see you in a few months. Because it's not a fix. It isn't a fix. And maybe people don't expect I don't know, maybe they don't expect me to say that.
Are you thinking of buying something for yourself or for a loved one? Well, look no further than Chisholm Hunter. Chisholm Hunter are a family-run jewellers that have been going for over 165 years. Yes, you heard me, 165 years. They specialise in fine jewellery. They're actually world-renowned for their fine jewellery, but what's more up my street is their luxury watches. They're authorised retailers for Omega, Vacheron Constantin, Tudor, Breitling, Breguet, and many, many more. Essentially every single brand that you can think of, they probably have them, and they're authorized retailers of them. Now, unfortunately, fake luxury watches are just such a huge thing nowadays, so you really need to trust your chosen retailer. And I personally trust Chisholm Hunter. Every single one of my watches in my collection, is a bit of a problem, have come from Chisholm Hunter. So if you're looking for something for yourself or something for a loved one, whether it be luxury watches or diamonds, jewelry, whatever it might be, then head to chisholmhunter.co.uk. That is chisholmhunter.co.uk. And while you're on the Chisholm Hunter website, use the discount code CHSUB, that is CHSUB, for an exclusive 10% off selected lines. That is CHSUB on the chisholmhunter.co.uk website. Thank you so much to Chisholm Hunter for sponsoring this episode of the Into Mind podcast. And without further ado, let's get back to this conversation.
The beautiful thing with the way aesthetics is now is that we live in a time where if you want to change something about yourself, you can. And there's very little judgment and very little stigma of it now compared to how it was. Equally, if you choose this isn't for you and you're not interested in Botox, you're not interested in fillers, you're not interested in skin health at all, and you just want aging to happen as is, you can do that as well. And then there's a whole spectrum in between those two of where you can choose to be. So people are really in a privilege of what they want to do as they age, and they can kind of choose how they want to do it. And with aesthetics, there's always more glitter. There's always more cherries we can put on top. It isn't one and done, one wave of a magic wand. There are always more things that we can do. And it's about people understanding that in terms of their skin health and choosing what goes on for them, rather than my life is broken, some bigger lips will fix it.
Yeah, and I think you're probably right. But there's also preventative measures prior to getting to that stage. Right? I was going to show you this. So this is my moisturizer, right? It's called Bulldog Moisturizer. And for anyone listening, it's called what the hell is this? Marine algae.
Mm.
Reduces appearances and signs of aging. Is this bullshit or is it real?
It's bulldog, darling, bulldog. Well, so now we're going into the whole world of marketing, aren't we? So skin health is key to aging, and and if we can keep our skin healthier for longer, it's going to look better. Something that's healthy looks better, so we've got more radiance, more glow. We do know that there are things topically that we can apply to the skin to help that. So even just a basic thing like skin hydration, so your skin not going dry and flaky and wanting to fall off your face. And we know there are certain ingredients that can help us do that. And we extract them from all sorts of weird and wonderful places. I don't sometimes think that that is the key to sort of the mystery of it, that it's from some weird and wonderful plant deep in the rainforest. So there are things that can help. Is it, I mean, you said, is it bullshit? It depends, because there is a huge amount of skincare out there for people to select from, and it is overwhelming. And some of it is good and works. That tends to be what we call like medical grade skincare. The stuff that's in the high street, to be honest, I'm going to be controversial, but it's all pretty much of a muchness. So they may put some of those elements in, but if you look at where that magical marine algae is in the list of ingredients of that product, it's probably quite low down. So what they tend to do is put a little bit of the ingredient that's going to help, but they can't particularly make the product really potent and effective. Mainly because it's on the shelf for people to help themselves to. And if you have all these things on the shelf, people can combine and pick all the different things. And what you don't want is them to combine things that could potentially do harm or interact in a negative fashion. So in a way, skincare on the high street is a little bit throttled. So that it's not going to be as powerful as it could be. But it definitely, there definitely are things, and skincare is a really important part of a holistic approach to facial aesthetics and facial aging. But I probably wouldn't recommend Bulldog. I'm never going to get a sponsorship deal with them, am I?
Because I've been using these for years, and I'm just like, so I moisturize. God, I feel fucking old when I say this, but I moisturize every morning now, and I just wonder if like it is marketing, and I'm in the routine, but I don't actually know what it's doing, because it's not an instant fix, right? It's like doing something over time. It's like going to the gym. You're never going to see an instant fix. It's over time, progressively, you might see your muscles getting bigger. But with skin, because it's going the opposite direction, it's deteriorating over time, it's very hard to note that it's deteriorated less than it normally would have. So I'm just like, what would be your advice for people watching this that might have Bulldog like me, but want to get something that's a little bit more potent that will help them age less quickly?
So I think accessing the right information is key, because, all of social media, so Google it, a good skincare routine, you're going to be absolutely inundated with all these different products and all these different celebrities endorsing, something that they're being paid to endorse at the end of the day. And I think it is really, really difficult for people. And I would break it down into sort of 4 key pillars of what you need on your skin to help. And the number one pillar for everyone is SPF. The number one thing that contributes to aging of your skin is the sun. UVA, which is aging, is there every single day. It comes through windows, so even if you're working from home, it's coming through the window, unless you're in some sort of cellar deep below your house. So number one, they need to find a really good broad spectrum SPF, and they need to have at least a factor 30 on every single day, even in the winter, even on cloudy days. That is the most important thing they can do. So if they do nothing else for their skin ever, you could throw your Bulldog away and replace it with an SPF, and I would feel confident that you were doing more for your skin. So finding a great SPF is the first pillar. And then you want some hyaluronic acid. So that molecule that the dermal fillers are made out of is a very small molecule. You can also apply it to the surface of the skin to help with hydration. So it's either a serum or a cream that's got hyaluronic acid in. Then we know we've got a couple of actives that we've got really great data for, and clinical evidence they are effective on the skin. One of them is vitamin C, which is an antioxidant. It helps brighten the skin. It can help reduce pigmentation as well. And retinol. Retinol is so important to good skin in terms of aging, and it really helps us slow down that progression of fine lines, crepey texture, the enlarging of the pores that come with age. And retinol needs to be introduced gradually. You can't just slap it on every night. You will get a retinol reaction if you've got a good quality retinol. So you need to build it up gradually, and you need to always wear it at night. And it is imperative that you always pair it with SPF as well in the daytime, because it sensitizes people to the sun. So those would be my sort of 4 pillars. There's loads of other things in terms of skincare that we might pull out for different skin types. If someone wants to go to the high street, they absolutely can. Sometimes I think it's not about throwing away all of their existing routine, but putting in something, a few key, maybe medical grade products that can really elevate what they're doing. So they might have a high street SPF that they love. Great, keep using it. Your cleanser hasn't got any magic in it. It washes your face. So just pick a cleanser that you like. I love the CeraVe cleansers. They're on the high street, they're in Boots, they're in Superdrug. They often go on offer. You can get them for about £10 to £12. Cleanser sorted. Where patients will get benefit from really investing is in the serums of the active ingredients. So the things like the vitamin C and the retinol, and getting a good quality one. Obviously, I advise people in clinic about different products and different ranges that might be suitable for them. So people can go to aesthetic clinics and obviously have a consultation with someone to get some recommendations along those lines. Equally, there are some sort of online products where they mix them together as well. So I don't know if you've heard of like Skin and Me. So it's like a subscription skincare service that the patient answers questions, uploads their skin, and talks about the concerns. And what they do is mix it all together. Makes it more affordable. Makes it quite simple. You've got one thing you need to put on your face. The only difficulty is if someone's having a bit of issue with the actives and they need to pull it back, they can't pull one of them out of it because it's all mixed together. Which is why I prefer to do it separately for people, because I can then control each of the different elements. There are online quizzes, all the products you can do an online quiz, send in a picture of your photo and they'll give you recommendations. But if I were to say to someone what will make a difference, number 1, SPF, number 2, getting some quality medical grade products on the skin, rather than, it doesn't particularly matter on the high street how much that item is. And sometimes we sort of associate, if it's higher cost, it must be higher quality. And that isn't necessarily true, because remember, they're throttled. They can't put in lots of active ingredients. So it isn't just about spending more money. It's about choosing wisely the products that you use.
So would someone so I'm from Scotland, so I don't get much sun anyway. So would that, because I'm from Scotland, or someone from like Scandinavia, would that actually, although we think it's a negative being born in this country that's cold and windy and cloudy, it's actually in the long run, is that true? Like, do you see somebody from one of those countries having healthier skin in the long run?
If the person that lives in the sunnier climate hasn't looked after or protected themselves from the sun, absolutely. 80 to 90% of your skin aging in Caucasian skin is from the sun. That is wild. It's just a wild statistic. And I sort of say to people, as I bang on, I sort of always say to people, I feel like Baz Luhrmann, and then I realise they're not old enough to get the reference to the song, and it makes me feel really old. I don't know who that is. Oh my god, it's a really good song. Wear sunscreen, and he talks through, and it gives you all this life advice. You'd like it. And one of the most important life advice things he says is wear sunscreen. So absolutely, someone who has lived their whole life in Scotland would have less damage from the sun on their skin than someone that has grown up in Dubai, if the person in Dubai hasn't done anything to protect their skin. As in worn no SPF, not done anything. So
this is an interesting one, right? Because I've had my current, my girlfriend is Irish, but so she doesn't really sunbathe as much. But I've had partners before that they'll be like, I want to sit in the sun for 3 hours. I'm not wearing tan, or I'm not wearing SPF because I want to tan. And it's normally a young thing. I don't really know why, but it's normally a young thing. And it seems to be a very UK-centric thing, because actually in other cultures, pale skin is related to wealth and status. So like the Chinese, for example, they'll have umbrellas everywhere they go because it's related to wealth. If you have a job of manual labor, you are tanned, therefore you are not as high status. So actually they value paler skin. And there's this really weird thing in the UK where we tend to value things that just are not healthy.
Yeah.
Like the sunbeds, going to get fucking wrecked every weekend, beer and whiskey and fish and chips. And there's a really weird divide between our culture and others, and I think it's partially to do with the weather, because we crave sun and we crave the endorphins that releases. But yeah, what would you say to someone that's young that is saying, well, I want to get a tan, so I'm not going to wear SPF?
I say, I probably sigh like that. So sometimes people will say to me, they'll have had a treatment in clinic, and they will say, well, when is it safe for me to use a sunbed again? And I say,
oh God,
never, with a smile on my face, and laugh. And they look at me and laugh, and they wait for the other answer. I'm like, oh, no, that is the answer. Never. You should never have a sunbed. I don't know why they still exist. My advice would be, I would say, and I say it a bit sort of tongue-in-cheek and say, it's bad for you. And it's bad for you. And I think the difficulty is because that consequence isn't immediate.
Yeah.
Again, like you say, with drinking to excess or things like that, your negative consequences aren't immediate. A lot of sun exposure can catch up with you 20 years later. The texture of the skin, the rate of aging that starts to happen on the skin will be accelerated versus someone that hasn't. The appearance of pigmentation. So as we age, we start to get these sort of patches of pigmentation and things that appear. And that can be a result of decisions and choices that person made 20 years ago. And then as their aging is accelerating out, it's like, here's the consequence of what you did, but from a long time ago. And I just try and explain that and say, it really, if you're bothering to spend money in clinic and have these aesthetic treatments done, you're doing nothing to help them. You're doing nothing to help the longevity of them. And you're kind of undoing all of the anti-aging things that we're doing in clinic by choosing to expose yourself to the sun. Or people go, oh, it's okay, I have the sunbed, but I put the towel over my face. Okay. I don't have this magical towel that seems to cancel that out. I would encourage them to sort of say, why not use fake tan? I know it smells of biscuits. I can't bear the smell personally. It is so difficult. And I think in terms of why we crave that, I think in societies generally, we always covet what isn't common. So it's common where we have no sun. That we don't naturally have tans all year round, so we want it. And it's so hard, isn't it, to try and change that whole cultural narrative of it. I just don't know that you ever will. But I think education of the fact that it is damaging now is definitely getting to people. I think the younger generations seem to be taking their health more seriously. They aren't the ones, I don't think, going out to the pub and getting smashed and then going to the sunbed. They seem to be the ones, like you say, going to yoga, having a smoothie on the way, having a matcha latte afterwards, and being, teetotal. They seem to be making a lot more health conscious decisions than perhaps the generations above them did. So maybe we are in an era of shift in terms of that. It would be nice to see.
Yeah, I hope so. I think there's a thing about instant gratification in the cultures, especially young cultures nowadays, and I think it's a lot of it's to do with social media, and a lot of it's to do with like immediate dopamine hits. Like everything's there when you want it. You can binge a series. You don't need to wait until Saturday now. Like I remember the days that Game of Thrones was on every Sunday, and I'd stay to watch it, and that was Whereas now they just don't accept that. That's weird to them. It's foreign. They want something, that instant gratification, and as a result, what you see is this really weird flip when things that are hard to obtain, like a good physique or a good job or building a business, there's lots more people steering away from that because they're not used to the fact that they need to work for something. Like they're really used to the instant gratification, and it's almost like the fast food of endorphins. Like they're kind of taking the McDonald's of endorphins and wondering why they're feeling shit, and it's because they're not actually working to a proper goal. We've all felt it. We've all been on TikTok and then realized that our screen time's 8 hours and we feel shit that day and we haven't done anything. And I feel like that, as a society, that's kind of the shift, is like we want things now. Oh, I can't be arsed going out and getting food. I'll get a Deliveroo. I'll just get a pizza.
Mm-hmm.
And then that spiral continues. And I think that's partially why people still use sunbeds, because it's the instant hit, it's the instant gratification, instead of, working hard over a long period of time to have great skin. They're kind of just sacrificing the long term for the short term kind of dopamine, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, and I think what they've seen is, if someone has worked hard at something, be it, great skin or a glow up or building a business, what they see is a montage on social media, that summarizes 10 years worth of hard work into a 30-second video going, ta-da, I did it. And they don't see all of the sacrifice, all of the hard work, all of the other things that went behind it. So, yeah, definitely. And I've got kids. I've got two young kids. Well, I'm not young now, actually. My son's 16 in January, which is absolutely terrifying. But it's really interesting to watch them trying to wait for things, because they can't do it. And like you said, when I grew up, we had children's TV on for an hour a day, and you had to get up off the seat and walk to the TV to change the channel. You had to wait for things. And if our Wi-Fi speed isn't instant, they're like, there's a problem, it's not loading.
Yeah.
Or, you go to Disney World and you've got to queue up, and they're like, what is this? They've literally been stood there 30 seconds and they're like, but I want to get on. Where's my phone? Can I have my phone? They can't just be. They can't just be and not be doing anything. There has to be something. And you see them and they've got multiple screens. So my son will be doing his homework. I'm dobbing him in here, aren't I? Doing his homework on his iPad, because a lot of it is set on apps and systems now. So he's got that open. He's also got his phone with his headphones in. So he's often listening to music, watching something on TikTok normally, and doing the homework at the same time. I'm like, I do not know how your brain is not literally exploding. But that just seems normal for them, that there's so many inputs constantly and so many instant inputs that if you don't have that, it's really interesting to watch, because there's just no tolerance of waiting.
Yeah, well, I think, but if you think 100 years ago, or even 50 years ago, I mean, Jesus Christ, we're very low stimulus animals. We like to craft things that might take 10 years, and then we get this beautiful painting and we think, fuck, that's incredible, and then we move on to the next thing. It's not natural to have this overload of dopamine all the time. And actually, it brings me to the question, do you see blue light from screens? Does that affect your skin?
Yeah.
Oh shit. So if you're on your phone for 8 hours a day, that's like you're getting wrinklier.
I'm afraid so.
Oh my God. Wow, I didn't even think of that. Why does that affect your... Does it just penetrate your skin and it just ages you?
Yes, it's going to cause damage to the cells. And cellular damage, so aging at a cellular level, is damage to cells. Cells, over time, as they replicate, don't replicate perfectly each time. So you start to get errors coded in. You get things like on the DNA, the telomeres get shorter. And it's those changes at the cellular level that represent the changes that we start to see in terms of aging on the skin. Yeah, so it's blue light isn't ideal either. A lot of the SPFs do actually comment that they filter out blue as well.
That is really interesting how dangerous blue light. So I actually was wearing them at the start, but I've got these glasses that are essentially, you can see the blue reflection because they filter out blue light, because it gives me headaches. But most of my time, especially now, is filming. It's giving the team content to edit, and then so it's kind of hard to get away from in an everyday job. If you have an office job where you're 9 to 5 on a screen working on a website, which is the majority of jobs now, you are staring at blue light for a very, very long time. What would be like, you might not know this, the difference between like sun damage and blue light, or is it the same, it's just to a lesser degree?
I don't know the answer to that. I would imagine that the UVA from the sun is more damaging than the blue light from the screen. though neither are ideal, but I don't have any statistics on that. You've got me on one that I don't have a great statistic for.
It's a weird question. This is what normally happens, is tangents go off. But I do think that, yeah, it's really strange, that, isn't it? Just the fact that we've actually invented this dopamine blue light machine that keeps us addicted, and these really insanely smart people have engineered it so we can't look away. And actually, it's just made us as a society just unhealthier.
So many developments in society make us unhealthier, though, don't you think?
Yeah, I suppose there's convenient things. I mean, like healthcare, there's things that are technologically advanced that make us subsequently healthier, or at least they are a great solution to a problem. Like a lot of the treatments for diseases and cancers, and they weren't there 50 years ago, and they're incredible, and it's because of the computers that we've been able to afford them and figure them out. AI will be another one that will figure tons of stuff out. But yes, it's just weird how you've got these two spinning plates, one of which is extremely detrimental to your health. You get a delivery, it's fine. You can just order it on your phone at a click. And then the other one is, oh, well, actually, we've cured this disease because of it. And it's like we've kind of caused the disease because we've been giving everyone deliveries and everyone's getting overweight. But we've also got the solution now. So we're causing it, but we're also figuring it out. It's a weird way that I think society's going.
It is really interesting, isn't it? Because if you go back to actually, what are the healthiest things that we can do? It is going back to things like just eating whole foods. When you cooking from the actual ingredients rather than just taking something out of a plastic tray and microwaving it. It is much better for you. Even if it's a lasagna, it's much healthier to have made the lasagna step by step than it is to just pop one in the microwave that you've bought in a carton. But a lot of people, I think, don't want to do it anymore. Like life, I think modern life is so busy and people end up with so many spinning plates that it's really hard just to get back to those simple core things that give you good health, like trying to reduce your stress, going out and walking your dogs every day, cooking your meal from scratch every day, having some time to sit and unwind that isn't in front of a screen. But it seems that we've engineered ourselves in a way that doesn't tend to be anyone's life anymore.
Do certain foods increase the aging of your... I mean, because certain foods will increase the aging of a person, because like if you're overweight, you're using more energy, and it's just bad. It's bad for you, right? If you're overweight, it's bad for you. You're going to age faster. I'm guessing that's the same with skin. Like if you had someone listening to this that was getting takeaways 3 or 4 or 5 times a week, would you say that they're going to age faster, like in terms of aesthetics?
Yeah, they're not helping themselves. I often describe it to people as like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like your body has a Maslow's hierarchy. So Maslow's hierarchy of needs is a psychological concept of like a pyramid. And at the bottom are things that are really important to us. And then as you go higher up the pyramid, they're things that are helpful but not as essential. So sort of in terms of human health, the bottom is shelter and food. And in terms of skin aging, we can look at it. I often talk to people about we need something from each of these layers of the pyramid, and you need to make sure you've got a nice solid base to your pyramid before you really start to worry about the things that come higher up. So the base of the pyramid that I talk about to people is their nutrition, what you're choosing to eat, checking that your macros are in a good sort of ratio of what is right for you, making sure you drink enough water that isn't just coffee. So many people go, oh, don't drink anything but coffee. And then in the evening, I switch to wine. That is not going to be helping you. So we want good nutrition, good hydration, making sure that our stress levels are controlled as much as they can be, because that definitely makes an impact of people in terms of aging and the amount of cortisol that we've got going around. And then my next layer up for them would be things like SPF. Gets a layer by itself, actually, SPF. And then, some medical grade skincare in there to help in terms of day to day what they're doing. Before you come on to the higher things in the pyramid, like the Botox, the fillers, the skin boosters, the things that they're going to inject, there's no point concentrating upon this part of the pyramid if you're not bothering to do the bits at the bottom. Like they're just floating around at the top without anything to sort of really, really base on. And I'm not saying, we can't all live these perfect lives or we don't ever do anything that's bad for us. I'm what's the name of that guy that has spent his millions? His name's
Oh,
escaped me.
oh my God. And he's trying to age backwards, or he's trying to
Yeah,
like live
that.
forever. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm fascinated by him. I think it's really interesting. But when
Wait,
you're
let me look this up.
calculating, didn't he do a post that said like, oh, if you have a Thanksgiving lunch, it's going to take 7 minutes off your life? I may be quoting him completely wrong.
Yeah.
But you're just
But
like, there's a balance,
yeah.
right? There's a balance
Yeah.
between, barbecued food is bad for us. Burnt parts, if we burn food, it's carcinogenic. But does that mean
Yeah.
you're never going to eat a barbecue again? Probably not. Am I going to eat it
Oh,
every night? No. But am I going to have it if I get invited around a friend's house and they're having a barbecue? Of course I am. So it's about that
mm,
sort of balance of risk versus benefit while still managing to find joy in life day to day. You don't want to be
yeah.
so restrictive on yourself and that's bad for me, that you steal all joy from your day. But it's
Mm.
just having that awareness. At least if we understand and we're making conscious decisions either way with what we're doing, then we can make better decisions overall. So yeah, 3 takeaways a week is bad.
Yeah, exactly. And I do think you're right. Like it's anything in life is balance, right? It's you're not going to live forever. You need to have a degree of fun, but it's about weighing that up with the positives and negatives, and also just being like, right, I enjoy going to the pub. Maybe I'll do it once a month instead of once every week, because it makes me feel shit the next day, and I know, and then I eat takeaway food, and there's a cycle. The guy's name's Brian Johnson.
Ah, thank you, Brian Johnson. Fascinating man, fascinating.
He is fascinating, but I at the same time I wonder like what is driving him to do what he's doing. Because like from the surface level, it seems like he actually doesn't, like, his life is so regulated that there is no like cheat day.
No.
Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you mean. But then maybe his personality type is such that regimented structure brings joy. I don't
Yeah.
know. Some people really like to know what they're doing. They like that structure. They like that repetition. Don't like things catching them off guard, something coming out of the ordinary in terms of their routine. Which for most of us, we'd find that a bit monotonous.
Yeah. You know what's interesting about him? Like, people want to be healthy, and they have this perception that tans are healthy. You've got a guy there that has he is formatted every piece of his life to try and reduce aging, and he's white as a sheet.
Mm.
He's not like sun has not seen that man, or he's just had really strong SPF on for years.
Well, because tans aren't healthy. It's interesting where that came from.
I think it was like Hollywood
propaganda of Kellogg's did breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Well, it is if you're Kellogg's. Of course it is.
Yeah.
And diamonds, diamonds are rare. Diamonds are a girl's best friend. They're not the rarest gem. It's amazing how marketing around diamonds meant that they were the most desirable versus many other gems that are rarer.
Yeah.
I think that's the same with tanning. We've been given this, this is healthy, and it really isn't.
I do wonder how much of people's perception comes off of what they see on TV. Because you've got this phone, right? Like, if I go onto my phone right now, this is going to be awful, but if I look at my screen time,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to guess that yesterday was like, I was on my phone a lot. The daily average for me, that's actually not that bad. My daily average on my phone is 2 hours and 4 minutes. But
that isn't that bad.
That's not,
Yeah.
I'm actually quite proud of that.
I imagine
but
mine was longer yesterday and I worked.
But it's, to be fair, it does say down 40% from last week, so that we've got a
Okay.
week to go. So, but I can imagine if someone's spending 6 or 7 hours is typically the average, right? If someone's spending 6 or 7 hours, let's say 3 of that is on either Instagram or TikTok, and they are getting hit with the same message again and again and again and again and again, 3 hours a day, every day for the rest of their lives. Surely that's going to mold the way that you see things. It's going to burn into your brain a certain way of thinking. And it's interesting. There was a point where, so most guys get to a point in their life where they start losing their hair, and they start being like, fuck, what do I do to keep my hair? And then all of a sudden they start looking on TikTok how, hair restoration, whatever it is. And then they start getting hit by ads that go, you need a hair transplant. And it's again and again and again and again over years, and then all of a sudden, click, the decision's made, they go and get a hair transplant. And I just wonder how much of that is replicated amongst especially females and surgeries on their face, like facial surgeries. I wonder if they notice a wrinkle one day, they look it up on social media, and then the algorithm just dishes them so hard that they end up getting the surgery.
I mean, that's what the algorithm wants to achieve ultimately, isn't it? You know, the marketing from the companies want you to either buy their product, or, you know, the companies that are providing the surgery want you to go and seek out and have a consultation with them. It's going to play a role, isn't it? If you're getting the same message day after day after day, that repetition of a message is going to have impact. I find it really interesting how quickly the algorithm really narrows you down. If I'm talking to people during consultations, my phone is in the room. Obviously, I'm not on it, but it is in the room. And depending on what we talk about, it's funny what my ads do. Because we don't only talk about their face, we do talk about other things as well. And it is so interesting, after I've had those conversations, the targeted ads that come up for me. And you're like, my God, it is literally listening even when I'm not using it. And how I have really noticed how much it niches down. I looked something up. I think I looked up a collagen powder because someone said they used one that I hadn't heard of. So I looked it up. So I just Googled this brand. And then I was scrolling through Facebook because I'm old, so I'm still on Facebook. And every single ad that came up was for a different collagen powder. I'm going to get it again now because I'm talking about it again. So I'm going to get all these different companies coming up. And it's actually annoying. Just how relentless it is, how much it narrows down. And I can see how people end up buying it because it is just there all the time.
It's also kind of inhumane because it really does thrive on people's insecurities. Because, like, if you get a comment saying, you know, like I've had, you know, throughout, there's a YouTube channel called the Chisholm Hunter channel that I run. And just when you get, you know, 100 people in a pub, there's going to be one guy that you don't like, right? But when you amplify that by millions, all of a sudden you've got this huge channel that maybe 100,000 people don't like you. So they're going to say things, and automatically your response is to go to the shittest comment. So, like, there's people online that will just essentially bully or you know, poke holes at people. They then take that really to heart. Maybe they say they've got, you know, you've got a big nose, or your hairline shit, or you've got spots, and then they start reading into it, and then their algorithm switches to go, actually, you are spotty and you need this cream. And I think that's really inhumane. And there's a test that we did, and even step further, relationship wise, that's really dangerous. Because if you're going through cracks in your relationships or arguments, and then all of a sudden you speak to your friend about another girl, and your whole feed shifts to, you know, OnlyFans models. And there's been friends of mine that have showed me their Instagram Explorer page, and it's not good. And it's really dangerous. It's actually like it is amplifying and kind of encouraging the self-doubt and deprecation to yourself. You know, I had a fight in my relationship, and then the algorithm goes, okay, well, here's a dating app. And you go, oh, well, maybe I need a dating app. Or you know, it's really bad. We were talking about, do you know who's the famous actress that everyone is obsessed with? Sydney Sweeney. Do you know Sydney Sweeney? Mm-hmm. So we were talking about Sydney Sweeney with my girlfriend and his friend, my friend and his girlfriend. And then all of a sudden, I went onto Instagram that night, and my whole feed was just Sydney Sweeney. And my girlfriend was like, what have you been looking up? And I was like, no, I was just because we've chatted about it. And it's really, like, I think there should be some more guidelines, especially when it comes to, like, facial features or surgeries or things that are personal, like highly personal to people, like the industry that you work in, that kind of prevent those ads almost.
Supposedly there is a little bit of rule in that. I mean, certainly I know a lot of my colleagues that have clinics run things like Facebook ads and things like that, trying to obviously increase the exposure of their clinic. And it's incredible, actually, how many ads get declined or removed for being negative to someone's self-image. So one of the rules that someone showed, they said, oh gosh, what can I do for this? You know, because it's kind of difficult, because if people are seeking it out, you want them to be able to find the information. But I totally get
Mhm.
where you're coming from on the other hand, that you don't want to be sort of forcing this to people, going, there's something wrong with you, you need to fix it. But for
Yeah.
them trying to create an advert going, hey, I've done this treatment and look how much softer these lines are. You can't do a close-up of a before and after, or someone pinching their skin to imply fat or change, and because those ads just get removed. So it does seem really interesting that on one hand there is a bit of regulation going on, and sort of regulated professionals who are trying to do an ethical advert are getting their adverts taken down, but then you get these drive to all these other things as well that aren't so regulated, like you say, and they do seem to compound issues. Having relationship problems, you're sat there having an argument, you open your phone and all these pictures of Sydney Sweeney's come up. That's going to start another argument. Well, what are you looking at? Why are you looking at that all the time?
Mm.
My husband shows me some again. So he's on X quite a lot, and it defaults when he opens it. He said, "Look, it defaults now to suggested for you, or like for you, rather than his own feed of who he follows."
Mm.
And he's like, "Honestly, look at this. Look what they're suggesting." And it's always women with no clothes,
Yeah.
women just jumping up and down because, and he's like, "What is this?" Like, it's all they're trying to do is get you to look at this. It's just, yeah, really interesting that given the fact it's profiled him, it's like, yeah, that's what you want.
Yeah, you're a guy in
You're
your
a guy,
30s, 40s, and you're a
you
guy.
must want to see these AI women probably jumping around and,
Mm.
asking you how they look this morning.
Yeah, well, it's yeah. I kind of agree partially with what you're saying in terms of like, listen, if somebody is in the ecosystem for Botox, I think it's right that they should go to a doctor who is a specialist within their niche and can give them the pros and the cons and whether they want to do it or not. And I agree with that. But I think where it gets tricky is when, you've got these ads that are hitting people that almost create the problem. Because like maybe a guy has had a comment from a pal and his pal goes, "You've got shit hairline," and then they look up, normal hairlines for 28-year-olds. But because they've looked that up, all of a sudden the algorithm goes, "No, you need a hair transplant," and they just keep feeding them it, feeding. It was a momentary thought in their mind, but the algorithm will compound it, and then you take that process and put it onto 15-year-olds in school that are insecure anyway. And that is when it becomes really dangerous. And I feel like, especially online, there needs to be more regulation around these sensitive issues. Listen, it's different if you are a licensed practitioner who's a professional and a doctor. Like, I get that. But I just feel like for sensitive personal things, social media actually amplifies the problem rather than make it better. And it's almost like Googling your symptoms. Like, as soon as I Google, "Why do I have a sore stomach?" it goes, "You're going to die tomorrow." It's like, it's the same thing. I don't know. I feel like, especially amongst youngsters, it probably just causes so much more problems than it sorts.
There is, I think there are some regulations in place, certainly in my industry. There are a lot of rules that you have to adhere to in terms of claims you can make and things like that. So like the ASA and CAP guidelines and things that exist in terms of what you can promote out there as adverts. But I do agree. I think what we want everyone to be in a healthy place in terms of themselves, their self-esteem, their confidence, who they are as a person, what they stand for, how they look, all of those elements. You want people to be healthy, because then if you're a healthy grounding, you're in a position to make good choices about, do you know what? It's not going to change my life, but I really don't like that I've got that line between my eyebrows. It makes me look cross all the time. I know I get it because I concentrate at work and I'm frowning, or I concentrate when I'm driving and I tend to hold it. I just kind of don't want that. It reminds me of my mum. Can I soften it?
Yeah.
That's a really healthy approach to having a bit of Botox into the frown. But a lot of people, it's quite naive to think everyone's in that healthy standpoint in terms of their own self-image, their confidence, who they are, how they feel, what they look like. And so then obviously it gets preyed upon in terms of those insecurities, rather than people, because it's work to work on yourself and how you feel. And people, perhaps sometimes they don't realise it as well, that they need to do that work. And they hope that the Botox is a quick fix. And like you say, it just then gets driven at them. This is the quick fix.
Yeah,
This will
exactly.
fix
And
you.
it's the instant gratification. I talked to a guy called Naveed Sattar, who is a specialist in Ozempic. He's written tons and tons of papers about this drug, and I'm very, hesitant to speak on things unless I really research them. Hence why I speak to people on a podcast where I can ask the professional something that's they're more professional than I am. And his take was that, listen, this drug is for diabetes, and injecting something foreign into your system that causes you to throw up, it causes temporary blindness. It can't be good for you. But in hugely obese people that can't move, it's probably the lesser of two evils. And that's when it's good. But then he talks about the dangers and the risks, and it feels like in society now people are just gravitating towards the easy fix. I'll take Ozempic because I can't be bothered going to the gym 6 times a week, and that's it's kind of like sacrificing your health for the interim happiness of looking a certain way. And I don't know, it's just a really weird way that society's going. I think a lot of it is led by celebs. Actually, I got some celebs up, and this is going to be quite interesting. And I've never done this before, so it might not work. I was wondering if you could tell me what you think they have had done to their face.
No. Oh no. Oh gosh.
Right.
Okay.
Obviously, some of these guys, I can't tell, but you probably will be able to tell that they've had something done here or there. Obviously, celebrities get it done in a very good way because they've got cash to do so as well.
Well, sometimes they do it in a good way, sometimes they don't. The whole stealth wealth
sometimes they
facelift going on nowadays. Yeah,
exactly. Right, I've actually never done this before, so I think that actually that's easier than I thought it would be. Okay, so can you see this?
I can see Brad Pitt. He's definitely had a few bits and bobs done, hasn't he?
What would you say? Like, in your opinion, oh God, he's handsome, isn't he? I mean, Christ, that guy's 60. That's insane.
But men don't. Their attractiveness doesn't decrease with age. I think,
do you not think?
The way men age and the way women age is different, because men, if they're an attractive person, they will stay attractive as they age. Whereas for women, our attractiveness is sort of intrinsically wrapped around youth and our ability to be fertile and reproduce. Just in terms of going back to cavemen, why are we attracted together? We want to have babies and carry on the human race. So women are most attractive when they're young, because they're fertile. And as we age and we lose those signs of youth, that's when women feel that they're losing their attractiveness. Whereas for men, if you're a good hunter-gatherer, you're going to live longer and you've got good genes. You should want to have babies with that good hunter-gatherer. And so therefore, if a man's attractive, even as he's 50, 60, he's still capable of making those babies, and they're still attractive. And a lot of men grow into themselves. David Beckham. Got more handsome as he aged.
Yeah, there's a couple of guys that I know in school that I think they're early 30s now, and they're handsome men. And they were kind of baby faced, the kind of baby faced, kind of a little bit. I don't want to say chubby, that's a really offensive word, but like just a little bit plump.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they grew into themselves and they became. I mean, Brad Pitt's not the good example because he's one of a kind, but but they became. They did grow into themselves. But I don't know. Like, I don't. I think that there's signs of age that appear on a man. For example, loss of hair. There's the skin that is relatively the same on a man. There's eyesight deterioration, physical deterioration that happens as well on a men as well as it does in women. I don't know. I think there's men still lose a degree of perceived attractiveness as they do get older.
I think it's less profound psychologically than it is for women. Perhaps that's
How
more
so?
what I meant.
Because of the fertility.
Because of the sort of intrinsic nature of attractiveness with youth for women.
Okay.
Sorry. I will answer about Brad. Sorry.
No. I'll stop saying no. But it's interesting. So wait, say that again.
So I think for women, there is a huge amount of psychology that happens as they age, and a lot of women say to me, as they've got older, particularly women who were very striking and beautiful when they were young. And women get really, I've had people cry when they say this to me. And when I'm saying, how can I help? Like, what is it that you see? What can I help with? And they describe becoming invisible. And they say, nobody sees me anymore. If I walk into a room, people don't notice that I've arrived. They don't turn, they don't look. Whereas if they were striking when they were younger, people did turn and look at them and go, and you get used to that. If you're naturally striking, you get used to people responding to you in a certain way, that pretty privilege going on. And then as they age, they just fade. And it makes them really emotional that no one notices me. No one notices when I walk into a room. No one sees that I'm here. And that's the thing that I think. And then that, with that, becomes like a loss of confidence. They don't present themselves like they did because they don't feel the same as they did. And I think particularly as well for women going into, we go through a lot of different stages that men don't have to go through. So particularly around perimenopause and menopause itself, women tend to get a real surge of aging changes around them because our estrogen and our hormone levels, that ratio of the hormones in our body, is linked to things like our collagen production. And in a 5-year point around menopause or perimenopause, women will lose up to 1/3 of their collagen. That's massive. Before that, it was dripping away at about 1 to 1.5% a year. And they're sort of trundling along going, I'm doing okay. I'm aging, but I'm cool with it. And then they hit this change, which, the hormones going all over the place not only affects how they are, their anxiety levels, the quality of their sleep, how their temper is, their brain fog, their ability to perform and do their job, do the things they used to do before, coupled with the fact they look in the mirror and go, oh my God, what the hell happened? What the hell happened overnight? And that is a really key point that I see a lot of women, because they just are like, oh my God, what is going on? And that's the bit that I mean is different for women compared to men. I think now, though, as well, again, there is much more of a shift to women seeking help for that. People like Davina McCall championing for awareness around sort of perimenopause and things like that, and actually that it isn't a failure to ask for help or isn't a failure to have an assessment, have some HRT, that there are options out there for people that can just bring them back to feeling more themselves again, taking away any of the aesthetic element of what's going on. I think there's definitely some more acceptance of that. And it's few and far between that I speak to women who sort of say, oh no, I just need to get through it like my mum did and my grandma did and the generation before. There is much more of a shift of, there is something that you can do about that.
Technology. It's the joys of technology, right?
Exactly,
it's
right?
It's the same with men. And a lot of guys now are getting testosterone therapy. And, when they hit the 60, 70 years old mark and their testosterone levels naturally dip, they're bringing it up to a base level and they feel much better and they're healthier. So wait, so is HRT essentially just the female equivalent to testosterone?
Yeah, so in a very simplified nutshell, yes. So as women go through perimenopause and menopause, the body is going to the change of obviously not being fertile anymore, not needing to produce and stimulate the egg release from the ovary. But it means that their hormone levels are naturally declining. And a lot of hormones are linked to other parts of other interactions within the body. So they feel not as well in lots of, so the classical itchy skin, brain fog, hot flushes, all of those things are related to the change in level. And if you want, the aim with HRT is just to normalize someone back up to where they were, and just sort of keep everything a bit more stable for them. Just so that they don't get these fluctuations in symptoms. And I think that will come on further as well. I think we will get to a point where we're really able to almost sort of monitor people when they are in stages of active, healthy, and look at their levels when they were in their 20s, when they were in their 30s, so that when they get to a point that things start to go off, we'll be able to precisely tailor it to what they used to have, rather than at the moment we sort of trial and error guess the dosage and the different combinations until sort of looking at symptom relief for people, really. I'm not a
in,
menopause doctor, by the way.
no, not at all. In doing HRT, does that help your skin health over time because you're releasing that hormone back into this? Right, so it does. So
It
it's
does.
longevity.
So it helps in terms of holding on to your collagen production, maintaining your collagen production. Because remember that collagen production is linked to estrogen levels. And as it declines, it's
Right.
going to pull down your natural collagen production. And less collagen in the skin means it's just going to be the actual structure of the skin is less good. It's less bouncy. It's less able to hold on to hydration. It's dry. You'll get texture changes on the surface. So, yeah, if you do have HRT, it shouldn't be the reason I would stress that people go on HRT just to have glowy, nice skin, but it does help support their skin health.
What about taking collagen supplements?
I thought this might come up.
Oh, dear.
Everyone's taking collagen supplements, aren't they? It's certainly the supplement du jour at the moment. So do you know what collagen supplements are, what they're made from?
I have a hunch you're going to tell me that they're just not collagen.
No, so they are collagen. So you get marine sauce and you get bovine sauce. The marine sauce is like ground up fish scales.
Oh God. Okay.
And bovine collagen, I think they grind the hooves for that or something. It's not the nicest when you think about it. So do collagen supplements work? I would say the jury is out. There is quite mixed data and mixed evidence as to whether taking collagen supplements helps our skin. I find it really interesting as well when different companies will make claims. Like I've heard them say, oh, well, marine collagen is for your skin, but bovine collagen is for your joints. I mean, if a broken down collagen molecule is a broken down collagen molecule, I don't know how it would have sense to track to the skin or the joints. I haven't seen any evidence that it sort of would know where to go between the two. So evidence is mixed. Does collagen supplements help your skin? My advice to patients when they say, should I be taking a collagen supplement, is we don't know. It is probably going to do you no harm. So you would need to assess it for yourself. But you need to take it regularly, at least for a couple of months, to decide if you feel it's giving you benefit. And if you feel it is, wonderful, carry on taking it. If you're not sure or you don't think it is, you've wasted a few months worth of money on some collagen supplements that you're probably going to stop taking. Do I take collagen? Yes.
Yeah, but I suppose it's so minute, the change that you'd see, because like if you're only assessing it over 3 months, and then it's like you didn't check yourself the last 3 months when you weren't on collagen. It's like how would you track
and how do you
that?
control for everything else staying the same? Because even if you do something over a 3-month period, potentially you're going to say roll from summer to autumn. So even your sunlight exposure or the amount of exercise outdoors that you're getting is going to change. Have you kept your food intake exactly the same over that time? What about your hydration? I think it's really hard to control for everything else and go, right, when we do clinical trials, obviously you have to control all other parameters and say this is the only thing that's changing. And you do that day to day to decide whether it's making any difference for you or not. People often report things not necessarily to do with the skin. I find that they say, oh, I take it, I find it's really great for my hair. I find my hair grows nicer when I'm taking the collagen, or I find my nails are stronger when I'm on the collagen. So people do sort of report various different things. But yeah, jury's out. And I think what's important as well is sometimes people go, well, how does it know? How does it know to get to my skin? And I think the mechanism of action of ingesting collagen is a little bit more complex than just taking this molecule. It comes in through the intestine and ends up stuck in your skin. That kind of isn't what happens. We ingest the collagen, so that most of the collagens that we take are what we call hydrolyzed collagen. So collagen is a massive molecule. So hydrolyzed just means it's been broken down into smaller bits that can get across the small intestine for absorption. So you take your fragments of collagen, they get across into your bloodstream, and your body notices them, and it goes, I must be injured because there are fragments of collagen in the blood, which stimulates repair, basically, and stimulates the body to sort of upregulate its own collagen production again. So it's sort of a bit more of an indirect theory as to why it helps put your collagen levels back up, because it's making your body do some more of the work that it was slowing down from doing.
Right.
Does that make sense?
I mean, would that change? Yeah, but it does. But would the change be like? I feel like some of these changes, it's, you know, you might spend hundreds and hundreds of pounds over years and years and years and taking pills and pills and pills, and then the change is so small that like, see, when I have a spot in my face and I can see the spot and I know, like, I'm like, everyone's looking at my spot, but realistically nobody's actually looking. Nobody cares. It's you that can see it, and it's affecting your own, like, are these changes so minute that it doesn't, like, for the outside person, they're probably not going to notice anyway?
It's hard to say, isn't it? Because like we said, we don't have this crystal ball of comparison going, well, what would happen, like you're saying, years and years of making good choices and slowing aging is harder to sort of quantify and see. We don't have this crystal ball to say, well, what would my skin look like if I wasn't taking the collagen? What would my skin be like now if I wasn't wearing my SPF, if I wasn't having my aesthetic tweakments? You know, what would I be at? And we just don't know. So you never get that comparison arm of what if, which I think makes it really hard.
It makes it really hard. It also makes it increasingly dangerous for sharky salesmen.
Absolutely.
Like,
how will you
being
know?
a salesman, being a salesman, well, you know, they dine out on that, because you're taking someone's extraordinarily personal information of, I'm nervous about my skin aging, and you're saying, well, I've got a cure. You might not see it for 10 years, but trust me, it's doing something. Yeah, it's just it's a hard one, isn't it? It's a hard one to market. The question I was going to move on to, I actually wrote it down so I didn't forget, is, so we're talking about the effects of collagen, and one trend that seems to be kind of sweeping through the industry at the moment, or at least my friend group at the moment, is red light therapy. Is there any direction on that? Is that another one of these that it maybe doesn't do as much as we think?
So actually, red light we do actually have a bit more data for. It's very specific wavelengths we do have data for, and a lot of clinics do use it actually in clinic as part of their treatments. So we know that red light we've got quite good data for in terms of like being collagen stimulating, and also blue light there's a bit of evidence for in terms of helping with acne skin. So in terms of all the trends that come around, actually people having a red light, you know, like the masks and things that they sit with at home, I'm not opposed to that.
Interesting. So how come the blue light can affect aging negatively but can help acne?
Specific wavelengths. It's about the specificity of the light that's being emitted by the LED for that blue, because the blue, the theory is that acne, part of the acne problem is the bacteria on the skin, and the blue light is supposedly meant to kill the bacteria, which is perpetuating the problem of the acne.
Oh, that's really interesting. Okay. And the red light, I'm guessing, penetrates further into the skin to stimulate the collagen.
Stimulates the collagen, yeah.
And
I have a red light.
Wow. Okay. And is it
I
one
have
of
a
the
full body red light?
Is that?
I'm not only focusing here. Neck, décolletage, all of the other bits that people sometimes forget.
So how does that work? Because I've seen the ones that are like they kind of look like a weird Halloween mask that you put over.
Yeah, like a weird sort of space mask.
Yeah.
So the theory with those is you can wear it and carry on doing other stuff. But personally, I find the light so bright that there's no way I could sit with that on with my eyes open doing anything else. So I figure that if I have to lie there with my eyes closed, I have like little protectors on my eyes anyway. I might as well lie under one that's for my whole body.
And did you buy one for the house, or is it one that you go to?
I bought one for the house.
You have like a red light sunbed almost.
My mum did ask if it was a sunbed, bless her. She's like, oh, you got a sunbed? I was like, Mum, really? What do I do? You think I have a home sunbed? I was like, it is not a sunbed. No.
And how does that work? Do you sit in it for like, was it 10 minutes a day or 20 minutes a day, or how does it work?
Yeah, so I try and do, I try and aim for 3 or 4 times a week.
Okay.
I'd love to say that I do it every day, but that it's a little bit unrealistic. So yeah, I do sort of 3 or 4 times a week, 10, 15 minutes, try and do some like nice breathing at the time, chill myself out, put the goggles on, just try and have it as like a decompressed time as well. It's
Uh.
really pleasant because it's quite nice and warm as well.
So I'm guessing it's like meditation almost, apart from you're just...
Yeah, so I'm sort of trying to, the nature of multitasking. I'm sure that's a contradiction in itself, isn't it? Saying, oh, well, I'll multitask and meditate at the same time.
And it does that. So how does it stimulates the collagen, but how does it do that? Like what is it that the red light does that stimulates that?
That's going to be a really difficult question for like a biomedical scientist.
To be fair, we could ask ChatGPT and see what it says.
Well, that makes me look unknowledgeable, doesn't it?
Well,
do you know...
Why does red light stimulate collagen? Give reference. Says, I always ask ChatGPT for this because sometimes it just spits out absolute bollocks.
I love how people use ChatGPT as like the absolute gospel.
Oh,
and people put AI things back in again into AI, and it just becomes like such gobbledygook.
Have you ever seen you see if like I was to ask ChatGPT a question and then you were to ask it the same question on your ChatGPT, it gives two different answers based on what it knows about you. Have you seen this?
Really?
Yeah, so it's like...
I have not seen that.
Yeah, it's super interesting. Or it words it in a slightly different way because it knows your personality type's different based on the way you write. It's super interesting to see the kind of separation that it gives between different people and different ChatGPTs because it's your AI, right? It's super weird. So how does red light stimulate collagen? Okay. It penetrates into the skin and activates the cells. Red and near infrared light penetrates through skin layers into the dermals where cells called fibroblasts.
Fibroblasts, yeah. So it'll stimulate the fibroblasts are the cells that produce the collagen.
Oh, interesting. Okay. And why? So I wonder why the red light stimulates it though. When red light near IR light is absorbed by cells, especially in the mitochondria, it leads to an increased cellular energy. So higher energy means that the fibroblasts have more fuel to synthesize proteins like the collagen. Jesus Christ, who figured this out?
Clearly not me.
Upregulation of the collagen-related gene expression and matrix proteins. Studies have shown that the red and infrared light therapy can increase the expression of the genes and relations, and that it's linked like 3 websites that it's referencing, all of which look quite legit. Wow, okay. That's interesting.
It's one of those crazy ones that people think, it's just a light. How on earth can just being under a specific colour of light make a difference? And it is fascinating. And it's fascinating that red, we've got good data for. And then you see some of the masks, or you get these ones that look like a rainbow, like an arch that you lie under as well. And some of them have like yellow and green, which we don't have good data for at all. But isn't that wild? That just some of the colours we're like, good data. Other colours, not so much.
I wonder if it's
very specific.
Yeah, I also wonder
it's
if it's
900 and something nanometers. It's 900. I think is it 968 nanometers or something like that? The red needs to be. It's very precise.
It's really strange. I wonder if it's just because, like that, it seems like a type of light that will be emitted by the sun because the sun is red. And when you think of where energy comes from in plants, it would be the sunlight, right? It's red light that is broken down, and then it makes the sense of it. It's really interesting. I just wonder who figured out if you shine a red light on something for long enough, its skin will get better. Do you know what I mean?
It is so many of the things, though. Don't you look at it and go, "How did we figure that out?"
Yeah.
How did we figure that out?
Yeah, I'm glad someone did. You're kind of swaying me towards a red light thing now. So where would you get that?
So lots of companies make them. And I think the key is finding one that's going to work for you in terms of that consistency. So whether a mask on does work with you and you feel that you will be able to commit 10 minutes a day or whatever to sitting with that on. Some people find them a bit claustrophobic, the mask depends how you feel about that as well. Because you do, like I say, I've got a panel which is like a full body panel that I lie under, whereas you can get like little desktop panels as well, so you can just have it on and on you whilst you're
Working.
sat at your laptop and things. Obviously, again, it's quite bright though. My eyes are very sensitive to light. I wouldn't be able to sit there with a light on. The red it is quite powerful, and sit and carry on working. But it's finding one that is good quality, definitely the correct wavelength. So you want to see that the company's got good clinical data to support that their product is actually producing the right wavelength, which tends to, you can get them for £10, which probably aren't going to be that great, and equally you can get them for £500, £800. And it's finding the best you can afford, isn't it, really, whilst looking at the quality of the product with the clinical data that the company's providing for it to support its use.
What brand did you go with?
I think they'll give it me free.
You'll get a WhatsApp from me in like a week and I'll be under the sunbed red light.
I think the brand I've got is called Solace. It's a Solace panel.
Solace. Okay, I'll definitely have a look. Have you seen the studies between red light and eye health in terms of recovery?
So red light is good for recovery generally as well. So red and near infrared. So people use near infrared like for muscles recovery and things like that. And with the eyes, it's not harmful to the eyes, the red light, because people worry and say, "Well, it's such a bright light, is it going to damage my eyes?" But it's not. It's because it's a helpful wavelength. It's not going to damage their eyes. So in terms of recovery, if you've got someone with redness post procedure, you could put them under the red light for 10 minutes. I find it helps minimize bruising as well. So if someone's got a bruise, I've got like a little in the clinic, I've got a spotlight red light, and I will put the red light on it for a couple of minutes. It seems to really minimize the degree of bruising that they're going to get from the procedure.
Yeah, there's people that I know that have been doing red light on their eyes that they say has helped their eyesight or it stopped it from deteriorating. And I literally just looked it up as we were speaking about it there. So it's, Jesus Christ, like some of these words, mitochondrial repair and energy support is the main mechanism. Red light and near infrared NIR typically, it was at 620 to 900 nm. Is that the...
Yeah, that's the wavelength of the light. So light is like a waveform that, like, if you imagine like a sine wave, and then how spaced out the wave is related to the wavelength of the light.
Right. Okay. So they're absorbed by the mitochondrial enzyme, and it increases ATP production. Retinal photoreceptors are extremely energy hungry, so supporting mitochondrial function may help protect the retinal cells. And then it's referenced Glenn Jeffrey et al.'s study found that in 3 minutes of 670 nm exposure improved retinal functions in adults over 40. That's really interesting.
My God, I need to not put the eye protectors on, don't I?
Well, I wonder if that's with your eye. It looks like these guys have their eyes closed, which is interesting. How
it makes sense that it would it makes sense that it would penetrate through the eyelid, isn't it? It's not the thickest, is it?
Yeah, that's really interesting though. It's just so amazing that, like, we talked earlier about how technology's having a negative impact, but then you read things like this and you're like, that's genius. Whoever figured that out, and it adds longevity, and it's so exciting to see things like that going on in the world. If you shine a red light in your face, you're going to save your eyesight. Like, that could be the way things go.
And I think people don't believe it because it isn't invasive. It isn't, there's no downtime, there's no pain associated with it. So people go, oh, well, that can't work. Yeah,
well, people are also, like, typically after a quick fix, and normally a surgery or, an injection is the quick fix. I actually had I don't know if you believe in this. It'd be interesting to hear your take on this. Do you believe in acupuncture?
I actually trained in Western medical acupuncture, actually, early on in my career switch from the NHS.
Wow. And how did you find it?
I love it. I think there's so much to the human body that we don't understand. And, the Western medical philosophy versus like an Eastern philosophy, it's just a way of us trying to understand it and a way of us trying to compute something that's way more complex. So I really enjoyed it. I found it really interesting to study and to do. And And I think it really does have a place for some people. You know, you really could get benefit. I used to there's a treatment that you can do. So if pregnant ladies have got a breech baby, there's an acupuncture point on their toe, and that you do a thing called moxie, which is like burning a herb near it. So you put the needle in and you moxie them, and it helps the baby turn so that they can have a
What?
normal vaginal delivery. I know. I did used to do that quite a few years ago. I had quite a good success rate. Like I had like about 75-80% success rate of turning babies.
Oh
Isn't
my
that crazy? So
God.
they could actually, if they wanted to, go on and have a natural birth, rather than obviously if a baby's breech, if a baby's breech is upside down, so they should be head down to
Yeah.
come out head first. Obviously, if they're breech, their bottom is down, and we don't particularly like vaginally delivering breech babies now. We used to, but the skill was a bit lost where people used to opt for cesareans. So
Yeah.
it tends to mean that you need a cesarean section if your baby is breech, particularly if they're extended breech, which means their legs are straight.
Isn't
So they're
that
sort of folded in
incredible?
half.
That
Mm.
that you can
Go
acupuncture.
try and westernize that and how it works.
Yeah, and I think that it's just people don't realize that these methods that have been around for hundreds of years, like acupuncture, there's a reason that they've been around for hundreds of years. There's actually my brother had a real issue with his shoulder. I think he's bench pressing and he tore something, and really, really a big issue. And for years, he was going to the doctors and physios, and they were going, you need surgery. And he was so close to getting surgery. And then my mum said, listen, I know you're not into it, but please try acupuncture, because I don't want you getting shoulder surgery, which, by the way, has a really bad success rate anyway. He then got acupuncture after being told by all these physios and doctors, you need surgery. And that the acupuncture fixed it. And he was like, I thought it was cookie. Like, I didn't believe in it at all. And then I tried it, and it totally fixed it. And he can now bench press again. And it's just incredible that these really old methods have such a potency, but they're not as well. It doesn't seem like they're well respected. It's weird.
Totally. It's. I just think it is incredible. I mean, I was very much into more holistic approaches to medicine and the human body. So I had, when I was younger, when I was a child, I had scoliosis, which is like a curvature of the spine. So instead of your spine being straight in your back, it kind of does this side. So it makes like an S shape side to side like that. They don't know why it happens. So it's called idiopathic, which is just a fancy medical word for we don't know why it happens. Idiopathic scoliosis is very common in sort of early teenage girls, which was me. I was sort of 13, 14. And because of that, we did, because obviously the suggestion is surgery to fix it, which is a big surgery, massive surgery for a young girl. We tried so many alternative therapies to try and help with it. So in terms of like acupuncture, osteopaths, chiropractors, things like that. Unfortunately, mine did progress really rapidly. So when it was, they measure the degree of the curve. So they look at how it's going side to side, and we draw lines, and we measure the angle of the curvature. And when mine was discovered, it was 40 degrees. And by the time we actually did come to operate on it, it was 62 degrees.
Wow.
So it was getting worse quite quickly. So I think for me, there wasn't really an option in terms of a non-surgical approach to fix it. So my spine is fused, pretty much my whole thoracic spine is fused, which I had done at 15.
Wow.
But that definitely, and the recovery from that, which was pretty intense, definitely shaped what I think about the human body, what I think about medicine, what I think about utilizing different approaches. I kind of forget I have it now. Obviously that was quite a long time ago when I was 15. So I'm 42 now. So yeah, really long time ago. And I kind of forget it's there. So I can't bend, that bit of my back is just like a solid.
Yeah.
But I do forget. And sometimes if I'm out, and you can see this, obviously there's a scar down the full length of my back, and people are like, oh my God, what happened to you? And I'm like, what? Oh my God, what are they talking about? Like, oh my God, what's happened to me? Is there a mark on my dress or something? I'm like, oh my God, no, you're back. And I'm like, oh gosh, yeah, oh no, I had surgery. I just forget, because obviously if it was at the front I'd probably see it a bit more, but I do just forget about it now. But that definitely shaped where I went. And I know I've ended up in facial aesthetics, which maybe seems a little bit of a slight sideward pathway, but the sort of the human body helping others, taking a more holistic approach to actually everything, probably actually came from that.
It's an interesting path as well, because I feel like through that kind of hardship, because it must be, I mean, a 15-year-old going through something like that must have been really difficult. And you'll be able to see in the people that you speak to their insecurities as well. And from an empathetic point of view, you've been through something, maybe not exactly the same, but you can say, well, I've been through these kind of things as well, and I can understand the pain and the kind of the issues that go along with it. So I suppose that progression from your career kind of makes sense, that you'd want to help other people.
It just became a really natural fit, I think, from having gone through that, for sure. And also, I was quite a people pleaser in terms of wanting to do well at school. And so striving to get into medical school, obviously, was considered one of the hardest things. So I was like, well, if it's hard, I can do it. Particularly, so when I had my surgery, I was in my GCSE year at school. I was 15. So I had 5 weeks off school during my GCSEs, which is massive. Massive. I had no special... I look back now and think, why did I get no special consideration? Sometimes if there's exceptional circumstances, you get special consideration when your exams are being marked. Didn't get any special consideration. I was literally in a bed for 5 weeks off school. Had to be led down most of the time. And then when I went back to school, my best friend had to carry my backpack for me because I wasn't allowed to carry my bag with my books. So she had to carry all my stuff around for me.
Do you think that's...
Shout out, Lydia.
do you think that shaped your outlook on your career as well as life?
I would say so, because like you say, I think it does give you a degree of understanding of what it is like to be the patient, because when I was a patient, I didn't have any of my medical knowledge that I do now, and I understand what it's like to be that person. Yeah, I think it did. Yeah, it did shape me quite a lot.
Do you think that it's control? Because over that period, you maybe weren't in control of what was going on. Whereas after the fact, you maybe thought, right, I'm going to take control of this and understand exactly what's going on and why it's going on. And that led you to do what you did.
Understanding, I would say, rather than control. Because I think, there's things that we control in life, things that we can't. And then the wisdom to know the difference and all that. And, it was something that I had. Do I think it was anything that I did that caused it? Probably not. I'm never going to know, and there's no point sort of analysing that. It was, I had that surgery, my back's fused. Hey, I'm never going to be a slouchy old person. I'm going to be bolt upright for all my days. But yeah, I just think if you're a doctor that's never had anything wrong with you, I think it can be harder, not impossible, but harder to relate to people. Whereas if you have had things yourself that you had no control over and you were terrified of, yeah, it definitely, I think it's a positive thing to be able to empathise well.
Yeah, but you're totally right. And I think that a lot of people, especially when you look at high functioning business people, typically they've got something in their past that's happened. Like you very rarely find someone that's extremely successful in a certain area that hasn't had something gone on in their past. Like people with perfect childhoods, typically, I'm not saying all the time, but typically speaking, they don't have the same drive as people that have maybe more traumatic childhoods. There's people that I worked with for years, and there's actually a couple of CEOs that I know, and one of them in particular, when he was young, his mum and dad were on, benefits. His mum was a cleaner and they couldn't pay the bills. So as a result, when he got older, his thing was, I'm going to buy as many properties as I can, because when I was young, I never had somewhere to live. And it's interesting to see what drives people. Like when you really dig beneath the surface, you can normally figure out why people think the way that they do. And if, when you were young, or when this CEO was young, he couldn't afford dinner, you can understand that his agenda and his anxiety is that he never wants to go back there. So he's going to keep going like this. And it's just interesting that the way that you've kind of moved through that is you're using your empathy and you're kind of reflecting that onto your patients.
I do get really affected by people, though. It was something that I had to understand and not get too in their shoes, especially so when I was in the NHS. So I haven't been in the NHS for 2013. I think I left. I was an anaesthetist before I left and did my aesthetic clinic and career. So I used to work in intensive care. So as I was an anaesthetist, part of our training and our coverage is so we put people to sleep for operations, but we also, because of our intubating skills and things, we look after the patients in ITU. I found that incredibly hard. Having to talk to families when people are really unwell and say, you need to come in, or you need to go and have that chat to them and say, I really don't think they're going to pull through. You need to kind of get everyone here that you want to be here. I found it really hard. And I think sometimes your empathy is like, you almost feel like you're them. Maybe I found that a bit too much. Maybe that's why I stepped away from it. And I do, what I do now. I think sometimes people don't think that aesthetics is real medicine, which I really disagree with, because I think you are really helping people. It's just in a very, I'm not saving your life like I was then, but I am doing something for you which is so profound in terms of your quality of life. It makes such a big difference. But I think the environment I'm in now, that empathy, I'm able to, it's generally, there's not a lot of, there is emotion from people, but it's not overwhelming like it is in ITU, because ITU can be just a lot. And I think I was maybe too susceptible to it. And I think it made me good in terms of being empathetic to people, but I found it hard on me.
Yeah,
it's deep, isn't it?
Yeah, well, yeah, but I think there are a certain percentage of people that are fantastic at just blocking. I've got a friend that's a doctor. I've got a couple of friends that are doctors, and it's really interesting to see them, like, things that are really impactful for someone like me, like seeing someone with a snapped leg or a massive gouge out of them. It's almost like a doctor just has I see it every day. And it's interesting to see, and I don't know if other people listening perhaps have this as well, there's a degree of coldness that comes with a doctor because they do deal with such horrendous situations all the time. And when you actually talk to somebody that's within the NHS, especially at the moment, because it's just hectic, but there's a degree of just like nonchalant, there's no emotion. And I think it's because they're dealing with these hypersensitive situations all the time that when they do come back to reality with just hanging around friends, there's almost like it's like nothing to them. It's
protective,
it's
though, I think, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's
and
a
I think
protective defense.
It's trying to guard yourself against the hurt. I don't want to get close to this patient because they could die. And that's probably happened a couple of times, and they've thought, I'm just going to up the walls up. And I do feel that when I talk to doctors a lot of the time, there's a huge wall there, and you just can't. It's quite sad.
I don't know what. Yeah, I just think it is the way that you have to cope with it. Because it is a lot, and I think because the trouble is it's a lot, and even to say one situation of that is a lot. But if you're on, you're on call, you're on your shift, you have this one thing that's happened, and then you've just got to carry on. It's like, oh, but I've got to get back to these other things that I was doing, or there was an emergency, you were called away, then you go back to the ward round. You just have to get back, and you have to carry on.
Yeah.
And the only way to do that really is to almost sort of like compartmentalize and to be able to carry on and to put that kind of, well, that's that done.
Yeah.
I found that a lot. I found that a lot.
Did you think that over time that kind of wore away at you?
I would say so. And I think, I had my son when I was quite young in my medical career. Most doctors wouldn't have children. I think I was 26 when I had my son. So I was what we call like an SHO, which is quite young, junior in your sort of progression. Because I really thought having a baby wouldn't change my life. I would just have a baby and carry on. Nothing will change for me. Obviously, that isn't the case. And I think then when you do have children as well, the things that when you are doing pediatrics, when you are doing pediatric resuscitation, anything like that, hits you even harder.
Because why do you think it hits you harder?
Because you think, imagine if that was my son. Imagine if that was my child there.
Interesting. I wonder if there's a percentage of doctors that don't actually have children due to that. Like, I wonder if the percentage of people that come into they first begin as a doctor, and then they have a child, and then they think I can't do this anymore because that empathy is then there.
I don't know. Maybe people are just better at putting it into the correct places than me. I don't know. I think a lot of doctors do have children, but they just tend to have them later. They seem to sort of get to their consultant job, get everything sorted and settled, and go, right, now I can have a baby. Now is the correct point in my career to have a baby. And I just kind of didn't follow that. I didn't read the script, obviously, before I started.
the path.
I just winged it and went, oh, this is harder than I thought.
Okay, well, listen, the I was going to say, before we forget, the celebs, right?
Oh, yes, please do the celebs for me. Do the celebs.
I'm going to show you, right, who's first. Brad Pitt was first, right? Here he goes, right? I'm going to see if I can share my screen here. Can you see my screen?
I can see your screen.
Right.
So what I think is really hard about celebrity is there's a lack of openness from them in terms of what they've had done. So you don't know if they're saying the truth or not. And then you're like, are the images true? Have they been edited? So are they being sponsored by someone? Is their surgeon out to sort of become famous and get some notoriety for how good a surgeon he is? I mean, clearly, I would say every celebrity has work done.
Yeah.
Now, whether that's just a bit of Botox, having some skin boosters, all the way through to surgery, I think they all do. And I think the looks we see are a result of that sort of treatment stacking, that lots of different combinations of things. So I think I would speculate that he's had some surgical and some non-surgical work done. I am not a surgeon. Okay?
Yeah.
But I would say, those forehead lines are softer. He's either had some toxin there, so we just colloquially say Botox. He's probably had some Botox. He's probably had some skin treatments in terms of like a laser resurfacing to give him that glow and to sort of freshens up so that the surface looks smoother, looks more glowy. But he's probably had some form of a surgical facelift as well. And I know at the moment people like to talk about all the different surgical techniques. So like deep plane facelifts are the ones that people are citing a lot at the moment. Deep planes are slightly different depending on which surgeon does them. They all have their own very sort of specific things that they like to do surgically that would be defined as a deep plane facelift. But I do think he's had some form of facelift, some form of potentially sometimes when they facelift, they fat reposition as well.
Okay.
So instead of using, like I said, like we use dermal fillers to put volume back, sometimes surgically, if they're so when they're surgically doing things, they're trying to tighten it and reposition tissue back to where it should be.
Yeah.
And sometimes when they do that, they move fat around as well with that to give improved contour and improved shape to the face. I mean, in that picture there where he's got a shaved head, he's got really wide lower jaw, hasn't he?
He does, but like I feel like he always kind of had that.
He always kind of has, but it almost looks a bit...
Yeah, chunky now.
Yeah, so for men, with women, we like curves, we like softness to faces, so we like cheek curves, softness, round, oval faces. With men, we like angles.
Yeah.
So for men, you particularly want to create angles. So that masculine jawline, that sort of squareness, we often non-surgically do it with some filler. But the danger is, obviously, you have to look at people from sort of all the angles, because from the front, it's very easy. If you're giving someone a nice... I'll just get my phone out. If you're giving someone a nice square jawline, you've got to remember to look at them front on as well, because if you're adding volume here, you're going to be making them wider, and you have to be careful of that almost sort of very sort of... I want to say Lego head, but that's probably a bit offensive, isn't it?
I know what you mean, though. I know what you mean. It's
the distance here. So we look at different distances on the face, and we have different ratios that we find pleasing to look at or attractive. And we look at the sort of the distance between the cheekbones, and we also look at the distance, sort of the width here at the jawline as well. But on that picture there where he's got the shaved head, he just looks like that distance is the same. It almost looks a bit too chunky. But then you read it, and he's saying it's his lifestyle.
Yeah.
I just eat clean. I exercise. You know,
I suppose
keeps me looking healthy.
I suppose people need to understand as well that when you get a celebrity actor, their life is looking after themselves. Like their job is to look good. And when you get someone that's working like you or I, that's working I work relatively weird hours, but a lot of my time has to be spent behind the screen. It's not healthy.
Mm.
And like you're never going to be able to change that, because when he's not filming, he'll be in the gym. Actually, he transports the gym around with him wherever he films. So it's like, you know, these guys, it's very hard to compete when that is their full-time job, is to just look. I mean, look, he's 60. How the hell?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I have a girlfriend, but wow. It's insane. Wait, the next one's quite... Actually, I wonder if you can... I might need to change the screen that you're seeing here. So the next one's quite good, because this was my celebrity crush when I was a youngster in The Mask. All right, can you see this?
Oh, see, I love Cameron Diaz.
So do I. Yeah.
And I think she is an example of someone that has kept true to herself in terms of her aging. So I imagine she has had some treatments, so things for her skin quality, her skin health. But I think she's done it very well as the years have gone by. That we haven't had stages. Sometimes you get these stages of women where sometimes they get it right and it looks great, and then other times it goes in a phase of it's not quite so right and something's just gone a little bit off, you know, and you look at them and you go, oh, they look a little bit weird, and then they tend to right themselves again and sort of get it back on track. And I think I don't think she's ever really had any of those dips of getting it wrong. I think she's just aged beautifully.
Yeah, well, listen, I would agree. I think she's from what I can see, listen, I'm not a professional by any means, but there doesn't, I mean, maybe she's had, I don't know, you'll be able to tell me maybe better, maybe she's had Botox potentially.
I think like I said, I think non-surgically she will have had stuff done.
Yeah.
So things like Botox, microneedling, or like skin booster type things. So that's sort of injectables that are helping with your skin health. So you get injectables, things like hyaluronic acid injectables, the polynucleotides at the moment, which people sometimes call the salmon sperm facial. It's not salmon sperm, but I think she has very carefully, with her doctor, been curating things to look after her. And if she has had any surgery, I think it's been beautifully done. That sort of quiet luxury, like you can't spot it.
Yeah. I think she's, I remember watching The Mask when I was like, what age was I? I must have been, 13 or 14, and I was actually in love with Cameron Diaz. She was, yeah.
So I think she's taken a really good approach. I think she'll be doing lots of non-surgical things, but in a very gentle, holding on to what you have rather than trying to change what you have.
Yeah, exactly. I think right, this is an interesting one, because there's been lots of
yeah, looks a bit weird, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think
it's his eyes, isn't it? Oh, such an attractive man.
Is that a face? Like, how did
it's I think the changes here are surgical.
Okay.
It's like everything's just a bit too much,
like pointed almost.
Like, yeah, it's almost like it looks tight, doesn't it? Like it looks like it's been tweaked up and back.
It does look a little bit
and the
tighter.
shape of his eyes doesn't look pleasing anymore. Like the shape of his brow has been altered. Like men should have horizontal brows, and they've been altered. They look almost like a little bit arched, and there's something strange going on underneath the brow as well.
Interesting. So is that a tell, or like what's the biggest tell that someone's had something surgical?
How dramatic the change is,
Ah,
I
so
would say.
yeah, so
How dramatic it is. I think you can't achieve with a needle what someone can achieve with a scalpel.
mm,
Um, and yeah,
he does look different though, doesn't he?
he does look really different. It's like the width of his smile looks off. The eyes, particularly for me. Yeah.
Interesting.
Surgical. Oh, look, I like that person. They've done half and half. Nice split face for him.
But then I suppose there's always going to be natural, like, aging across the years that's going to change the shape of your face. But yeah, it does seem, I thought that was Botox, but I don't know.
I don't think you could create something that looks that different with Botox alone.
Yeah.
I'm sure he does have Botox. But no, I think that's some surgical intervention there that perhaps.
Interesting.
Mm,
The last one I was going to show you, because
yeah.
this is an interesting one.
Zac Efron, you're going for it. Are you going for all the
Yeah.
guys?
Well, I used to fancy Zac Efron.
I was being all basic and expecting a Chris Jenner chat or something, or Lindsay Lohan.
It's like that's obviously Photoshop, but like one of the most handsome men on the planet for sure. And he said, or there was an interview I think where he said he'd broken his jaw, and that's essentially what's happened. So I think he said he broke his jaw and it got replaced, but I don't know. That doesn't. It's
that width at the bottom, isn't it?
Yeah,
it seems very. I mean, maybe he has broken his jaw and that's obviously reset the proportions, but how he didn't elaborate on how that happened.
No, it was a YouTube interview. There's been like a load of people just kind of speculating. Listen, whatever he does, he's still a handsome bloody man. But
it's that width at the bottom of the face. If you sort of, with that picture that you showed of him in that great, the one with the pointer over, that one.
Yeah.
If you sort of cover the bottom half of it, it's still very obviously him and just him a bit older. So the upper half of the face doesn't look too altered. He's a bit funny around his eyes, isn't he? It's that lower face, isn't it? Like, to me, if I didn't hear from you that he says he's had his jaw broken, I would speculate that's quite a heavy use of filler.
Right. Do you think it's anything to do with testosterone? Like, because he got really big for this movie that he did, in terms of like muscles. Does that affect your jaw shape, or or would it not?
I mean, a lot of a man's jaw shape. Obviously, we've got the jaw shape, which is defined by your actual bone structure and the structure of your mandible there. But you've also have got muscles over the top of it. So you've got a big chewing muscle here, which is a really, really big, strong muscle called masseter.
Yeah.
And you do find that a lot of people who are a bit squarer in the lower face typically do have quite a strong masseter. So they're either someone that just naturally that is the way they are, or they are someone that tends to grind or clench their teeth, either when they're stressed or in their sleep and they're unaware of, or when they do that, they do tend to get quite bulky here. So if he was someone that was training and getting a lot more muscle mass, it is quite natural that when we're doing things, we do also clench our jaw at the same time.
Yeah.
And kind of trying to edge on his side there in terms of, could he have made that muscle a bit more bulky? Potentially.
Look at the size of him.
It just seems...
That's humongous.
That is a crazy trait. I do find it fascinating with actors how they're able to transform themselves like this for roles, and it must be so grueling and
dedication.
Intense. Yeah, like to create that must be crazy, and then to finish the film and have it change back.
After putting your body through that stress,
that and getting to that point, and obviously it's not. A lot of these extreme physiques, aren't maintainable.
No.
And have a normal life, a healthy relationship with food and training and everything like that. It must be psychologically quite a journey to go through.
I suppose that must be like, see, on the left, he's looking very, very like that's a normal male physique that's in very good condition.
Yeah.
That on the right, that's steroids, and like there's no way that you can get. But then again, like if you've got a doctor saying to you, listen, you're going to get, or sorry, a producer saying to you, listen, I'm going to give you 30 million for this TV movie, and
Mm-hmm.
you've got to be in shape, but it's in 6 months. If I was getting 30 million and thought I'll never have to work again in my life, I'd probably do that.
I think most people would.
Yeah.
I mean, the actors don't have that, and I'll never work again.
Yeah,
Because they think,
yeah.
I'll do another one, and it'll boost my career, and I'll do another film and another film. But yeah, that is a crazy transformation, isn't it?
Yeah, it's wild.
Changes to that degree on your body are going to create changes on your face,
Yeah,
without a shadow of a doubt. You can't have some changes. Your body is a whole unit. You can't make changes to spot areas and not have it affect other things as well. There's just no way.
yeah, for sure. I know that there's the reason that showed you that. I want to highlight to people that a lot of these celebrities that are the great looking men and women, they have had things done, and it's not attainable to most people to get hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of surgery. So it's by no means these guys are all phenomenal actors and they're all incredible. But it's just showing people that a lot of these celebrities have had things done to make them look more, aspirational, shall we say. Well, listen, I've just realised the time, and I've realised you're 25 minutes for your Spanish lesson.
That's all right. It really doesn't matter. Ben can do it. It's fine. It really doesn't. I probably need a decompressed time anyway before she starts throwing irregular Italian verbs at me.
Well, listen, where can people find you if they're looking for you and want to kind of have a chat about some of the stuff that you offer?
Absolutely. So I am on Instagram and Facebook. My clinic is called the Shore Skin Clinic. So it's shore like the seashore, because I live down by the pretty south coast in Worthing. But it would be really nice if people wanted to reach out and connect.
Good. Well, listen, thank you so much. I know that we covered a bunch there, and typically that happens with these podcasts. They go to way off
A
piece.
lot that I wasn't expecting. I did some really good research, about talking about loads of different stuff that you didn't touch on.
What was
and then you got me on things that I couldn't answer.
What was the research? Is there any specific research that you want to talk about?
Oh, not especially. I didn't know if you were going to talk more about the British College of Aesthetic Medicine. I was going through just like trying to talk through about different trends and things, like explaining the differences. So people always think aesthetics is just Botox and fillers, and actually, there's a real trend that people are really turning away from fillers. It's like there's a 31% drop off in filler usage in 2024.
Oh wow,
that's massive.
So where are they turning instead?
Regenerative treatments. So that the more sort of what they perceive as natural, the stimulators, the biostimulators that are getting their body to do the work. So the things like the salmon sperm facial, exosomes, PRP, they're looking at getting their body to do the work rather than just filling it and freezing it.
Well, I suppose that's a good thing, right? That's
I think it's a great thing. There's a real shift towards actual health, longevity and wellness. So there's that combination of everything in terms of aesthetics, way more than, like you were saying about Ozempic, when people used well in the right people, I think it's going to be a fantastic tool in the toolbox. Being used, how it's being used by people at the moment, being sort of like drug dealt packages sent through the post of random syringes that people just inject into themselves, and then they use it to starve themselves to get skinny. They're just an unhealthy skinny person.
Yeah, it's real dangerous.
Crashed their muscle mass. They're going to have crashed their basal metabolic rate when they come off it. All of that sort of thing is just a disaster. But used well, like we say, in diabetics and things like that, I think it's a phenomenal thing.
Yeah. No, I agree.
But that isn't.
But it's not the way.
That isn't what's going on.
Yeah, it's not the way it's being used. You've got people that are 17, 18, 19 years old that are a little bit overweight that are taking it to starve themselves. And on that key period from, I'd say 14 to 24, when your body's really developing and filling out, and all the hormones that are going on, although they seem overwhelming at the time, it's good, it's natural, it's what should happen. You're shifting them, and you're starving your body of the nutrients it needs, and it's real dangerous. It really is. Yeah, it's a real concern, that one. It's just the online regulation, I think, needs to be really sorted.
Regulation of everything needs to be sorted.
Yeah.
The weight loss medication, the Botox, which is a prescription only medicine. You get illegal imports of fake product that's all written in a different language. that people just reconstitute and mix it up and go, I'm sure that'll be all right.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
That there is so much that goes on. There was an outbreak of botulism up in the north of England, I think it was earlier this year. It was tracked down to being one of those sort of counterfeit products. So Botox is incredibly safe. So when we use medicines, we have what's called a therapeutic index, and it's the range, the difference between the dose we need to give effect versus the dose we need to cause harm. So obviously, the further apart those two are, the safer something is. What you don't want is something that, to get your good effect, is really close to getting a toxic effect and causing harm. Botox is really far apart. So the doses we use cosmetically are really small, really small. But there were people being hospitalised in intensive care with botulism.
Wait, so what is botulism? That's just over-injecting.
So botulism is when the Botox is having a systemic effect. So the toxin botulism freezes muscles, which, if it's your frown, that's not a problem to you. If it's your muscles that control regulating when you swallow, that saliva doesn't go into your windpipe or helps you breathe, it moves your diaphragm, that's a problem. So botulism is when you get systemic unwanted effects of Botox. So that the range of what those people were being administered is literally tens, hundreds, it must have been tens, hundreds of times above what was believed they were being given. And then there's just no comeback or consequence of it. I know. See, this is the controversial bit. I mean,
right. So Dr. Bong talked about this, and I agree it's controversial, but I do think it's really important.
Mm-hmm.
The regulation around administering Botox isn't good enough. I would say good enough, because it's not all. You're a doctor. You have gone to university. You used to work in the NHS. You are a licensed practitioner and a doctor. Is it the case? I think my memory's right here, that essentially people that aren't qualified are injecting others with Botox? Yes. That's not right. That's wrong.
In my opinion, it is.
I think in anyone's opinion it is, right? Well, unless you're making money. Right, this is the issue, right? You've got a priority when it comes to health of a patient.
Yes.
So
I have a duty of care.
You have a duty of care. Somebody that is profiting off of these cosmetics, but doesn't have a duty of care, those two do not work in tandem, because they'll start abusing the position. You know, there's the young girl that comes back for more lip filler and more lip filler and more lip filler, whereas you might say, listen, you've had enough. These guys are going to go 60 quid. Thank you very much.
Lovely.
Yeah.
And come back next week if you want.
Is that how big an issue is that then? In do you see that a lot, or is it as bad as it was, or how is that happening?
In this country, it is unregulated. So anyone at the moment could open an aesthetic clinic. There is nothing to stop them doing that. You can purchase dermal fillers online.
So you can inject yourself.
So well, people do. There's plenty of people injecting themselves on social media, showing how to do it, which is crazy. There are dangers to these things. So anyone can open up a clinic, anyone can inject. There's no requirement in terms of any training they have to have had. There's no one checking up to check that they've got insurance. There's no one checking up that the products that they're buying are of an appropriate standard, are legitimate, not counterfeit, not AliExpress's version of a dermal filler. To knock AliExpress, but so you get this real mishmash of a sector, which I think is a sector of medicine, but sometimes people describe it as an industry because there's lots of people in it. I just think there's a base with having a medical background. There's a lot of things that we get in terms of our training that's gone on over the years, in terms of the depth of understanding of anatomy, physiology, pharmacology, so the study of how medicines work, the study of the interactions of different drugs in the body, things like sterile technique, how to ensure you don't get cross-contamination between products, how to make sure you dispose of sharps safely, how do you keep a sterile environment. around a patient, all of those elements that are taught to us through that sort of 5 years at university to get a medical degree. And then conversely, you'll get somebody else who hasn't had that as a background, opening up a clinic and doing the same thing. Same thing, but it's not the same thing. And I think what's important is when people think everything about different clinics will be the same, and it won't. Like medical clinics, we've got a duty in terms of our patients to first do no harm. If we do something that's harm, there's a way to recourse that in terms of, for a doctor, for example, you can be held accountable. You can have a hearing with the General Medical Council to say, what on earth were you doing? And, you can lose your license to practice if what you were found to be doing wasn't ethical, wasn't right. You caused harm, and your peers wouldn't have acted in the same way. Whereas there's no recourse. There's no GMC for someone who isn't a doctor. And you just end up with this real chasm of difference between the two.
That's really, really scary that people can market. So can they market themselves as medical suites?
Well, the word clinic isn't protected. And people use all sorts of different names that aren't associated with a specific qualification, like saying you're an advanced aesthetic practitioner.
Which doesn't mean anything because you don't have...
Doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean you had to acquire a certain degree or GCSEs or anything. And there's quite a range of courses out there. So sometimes people will do a 1-day course to learn how to inject.
Oh, that's not... You would not... Oh, my God. I mean, I wouldn't go to the dentist to get a fill-in or a tooth out, and they were like, yeah, practice for a day, so it should be all right. Like
I didn't even practice. I just watched a video.
Yeah, I watched it. I watched a YouTube tutorial. It should be fine.
See one, do one.
Yeah. I'm just
going to be.
Yeah, get the pliers out. You'll be fine. But like that's it. It's really... It's interesting because... So I work in business, and if I were to falsely market myself, sell you a product that was actually... It's falsely marketed, right? It's not the product I set out to sell. I would go to court, and then I'd probably go to jail. You now have a situation where these practitioners are calling them the suites, the professional suite with a YouTube degree, and they are not being done with falsely advert. Like that rule does not seem correct. Like that, it seems like the law isn't. Maybe it's just not caught up with the way that it's advanced, but it doesn't seem right at all.
I think the aesthetics as a sector grew very rapidly, and I think people found workarounds where there wasn't this stipulation that it was medic only. It's different in a lot of different countries. I think we're probably one of the most lax countries in the world in terms of who can inject. So there's definitely been this build up of just such a range of people wielding needles. I think it is just such a complex issue because like Botox is a prescription only medicine. So sometimes they call that a POM. And if someone's being prescribed a POM, they should have a face-to-face consultation with the prescriber. So for me, in my clinic, I'm the prescriber. So when I see them, I'm the prescriber. I've done all those safety checks in terms of their medical history, that they're not on any medicines or have any health conditions that would make me go, oh, this is a bit dangerous for you. You shouldn't have it. But even that rule wasn't particularly being followed. And whereas all my products have to ethically come from a regulated pharmacy so that we know the origin, we know the product, we can trace, we have a real issue with counterfeit products as well. So a lot of this product I get have these specific hologram stickers on that are another way of verifying too that it is genuine product. But then so we've got the pharmacies that tend to supply the medical professionals, but they won't let anyone order from them. So you ended up with this development of almost like wholesalers that were getting in this equivalent product that people were being able to buy without prescription, without anything, and they're just saying, "Oh yeah, it's Botox." And Botox is a brand name.
Yeah,
but everyone colloquially calls any sort of botulinum toxin Botox.
That's preying on the vulnerability of people that haven't done the research. It's preying on, I would say that's preying on youngsters, because they go, oh, Botox. It's, you know, that my base knowledge of this prior to having yourself and Dr. Kieran Bonn off the podcast was Botox was a universal term for something you inject in. It wasn't specific.
And it's not, yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's not, like, I think that I understand what you're saying about it being quite complex. And it definitely is, and I think the more that you're in that industry, the more complex it becomes, because there's tons of different, you know, ifs and buts. But my blanket approach to that would just be like, just make it illegal, just like make non licensed people illegal to treat, because they shouldn't be allowed. If someone's injecting something into my face, I would want them to be licensed.
I think I'm choosing my words.
Well,
I'm choosing my words.
I suppose with me it's different, because I can I'm not within the industry, right? So it's like, from an outsider looking in, I could say I'm not sure that I agree with that. But then I'm sure there's caveats that haven't.
I think the difficulty is it's happened. So once something has been allowed to happen, it's like opening Pandora's box. It's very difficult to get everything back into the box neatly. And I think sometimes you get setups. I think there's a difference between, so there are many non-medical professionals who are professionals in the beauty industry that have done lots of training. They're very experienced, and they do more advanced treatments. So things like microneedling, lasers, things like that. There are many very competent, very capable professional beautician isn't a fair word, but sort of professionals within our industry that don't have the title doctor or nurse.
Okay.
I think where the blur comes is what is too medical and what is acceptable for someone without that medical degree to do. And maybe, is it acceptable to delegate something procedurally to someone if there's oversight as well? So if you have a setup where you've got a large clinic, you do have a lead doctor that's on site, but people have been trained to perform procedures. Is that a more acceptable version versus, in contrast, to someone who, I don't know, has left school at 16, decided, oh, I think I'll do aesthetics as a career, paid for a one-day course, set up a chair in their living room and gone, oh, I inject people here.
Yeah.
It's really different. And that's a really extreme example.
Yeah.
But they all present different nuances to, well, how do we define this and how do we regulate this now? So I do think it becomes really, really difficult. And when people have been doing something and they have a successful business doing it and they're earning good money from it, how can you tell those people, well, you just need to stop now?
Well, they're not. I suppose they're not licensed, and but they shouldn't have got into that position in the first place. That's a lack of foresight on the behalf of the government, not putting that into. Yeah, you find this with a lot of new technologies. The law takes longer to catch up with the technology because it's new. Like the crypto is the biggest one. That'll be taxed soon. It's a matter of time.
They don't like that it's anonymous.
Yeah, they don't like that a lot of people are hiding their money.
They don't like that kind of, that wallet can't be tracked down to a person.
Exactly, but
whose is that?
But that forward
and things like people that used there was like a tornado. Do you know anything about crypto? So when people were drawing it out, there was this method of drawing it out which was called like tornado or something, and it randomized things, so you really couldn't tell where it had come from.
Yeah,
they didn't like that.
Oh, not at all, because they want their 50%. But the technology moves at a pace, and the governments, because they're older people, typically they're in power. They can't keep up with it. They don't understand it. Like, you think you're going to talk to Keir Starmer about crypto? The guy's 45. He's a dad. Like, think of, I think he's. I've got my opinions about government, but he doesn't understand. So how would he know? How would the people in Parliament know what crypto is? But they're probably the same with your industry. It's moved at a pace, and there was a huge boom of it, and they've gone, I don't understand this, so I'm just going to let them do what they want to do. And as a result, they're putting a lot of people at risk when they go into practitioner. Can you call them practitioners that aren't licensed? Or does practitioner mean that they're licensed?
I mean, practitioner again isn't a protected term.
So
they couldn't say things like they were a medic, or they couldn't use the title doctor or nurse, because that should be a protected title associated with the specific training you've done to achieve that title. But you can use various different, that practitioner.
If someone said to me licensed practitioner and they'd done a course for a day that made them licensed, to me, that's false advertising.
I would find it difficult to think how you could condense everything I learned in 5 years at university into a day.
It's because it's impossible. You can. There's no way. That's like me talking to someone that's just getting into photography and being like, I'm going to give you a day course and you're going to, learn everything that I've learned over a 10-year career. It's like, or a 5-year career. It's impossible. You can't do it. But I think it's the law that hasn't quite caught up with the trend. And maybe they will, but it might be at the detriment of a lot of people that, as you said, are getting these injections that are going into hospital, and it's not done correctly.
It would be nice for regulation to come. I think since I began in aesthetic medicine 11 years ago, people were talking about it then being hopeful, and we're still talking about it being hopeful. So nothing moves particularly quickly. There was a government consultation on it. Maybe 2 years ago now. And then it sort of stalled because there was a change in government, and it becomes not a big priority again. So it sort of falls back down, and then it gets picked up again. But nothing, when you have to put it into law and legislation and go into every nuance of it, is quick. Like, none of it is quick. And up in Scotland, I think you are a little bit ahead than we are in England. And because already, so for medical practitioners, their premises have to be licensed by HIS, which is Health Improvement Scotland. But if you're non-medical, you don't. So the people who are the ones with the medical degrees are the ones being more regulated
than the non-medical.
Than the others. But then there is a bill coming forward, hopefully for next year, that's going to push that forward a bit more and try and make it, in Scotland specifically, they're trying to sort of try and make this more clear, and they're talking about categorizing procedures into like a traffic light system.
Okay.
In terms of like red, amber, and green, and obviously the higher risk procedures being in red, which the higher up they are, the more qualified the person has to be to perform them. So red, for example, being medic only, whereas green could be your beauty therapist coming out of college with her baseline qualifications could be allowed to do that. And then amber, sort of somewhere in between, because they're trying to categorize them in terms of risk. Because, dermal fillers, risk is you can make someone blind, you can give them a stroke, you can block one of their arteries and kill a section of the skin on their face that then dies. So we see these things as like, oh, it's just a bit of gel being injected in, I've got bigger lips. And there's actually more risk than that. And sometimes it's that awareness of realizing that bigger picture of, well, what is going on under there when we're putting that gel in there? What else is there? Where is it? How close is it to where we are? That sometimes get forgotten about. And I think where facial aesthetics has become so mainstream and normal now, and that people view it like, well, I get my hair done every 6 weeks, I get my nails done, and I get my Botox done every few months. It sort of gets put on the same maintenance level, I suppose. People forget the medical nature of it, that there is a bit more to it of what's going on, but it almost sort of seems to be forgotten and downplayed, as it's just so widely accepted that a lot more people are it's accessible to. They kind of go, it gets downplayed, and it shouldn't.
I mean, Jesus Christ, you're letting like your daughter or son that could be 18 years old. I was like thinking of when I was 18. I was an idiot, and you're letting them going into someone that's not licensed, or maybe they have a day YouTube tutorial, and you're letting them inject something into their face. That's, to me, that's insanity, and actually it's preying on the vulnerable because they haven't done their research and they don't know if they're licensed or not. And I can't. I know it's complicated. I feel strongly about that one.
Oh, I feel very strongly about it too. And I do think there just needs to be a clear framework. What everybody needs, both patients, medical professionals, practitioners, everyone alike, we need a clear framework and a clear definition of who should be allowed to do what, in what premises, and following what training pathway. What do you need to have achieved to be allowed to safely perform this procedure? Because, like I say, the industry is large in terms of Botox, fillers, other injectable treatments, microneedling, how deep the needling goes, lasers. Lasers are a big, powerful piece of kit. You can do a lot of harm with a laser if you don't use it properly. And then, so what training should you have? Who should be allowed to hold that? I think there's definitely, it is, and I think the difficulty and the sort of trying to regulate is the more you look into it, the bigger and bigger this issue becomes, and the more we need to sort of look at it and sort of it becomes very complex.
Yeah. And that's why you need government intervention, though. That's that's what I would say is it needs to come. It can't come down to a group of doctors being like, listen, we can't, this isn't fair. It needs to come down to government being like, no, you guys are licensed. You've got, you used to save people's lives. You're okay with a needle. Someone that's just coming out of college, all due respect, I wouldn't want them needling my face that it could permanently disfigure or do something detrimental for my life. That you need qualifications, you need time, you need expertise. That's why typically we go for doctors that are slightly older, because they do have a little bit more experience, and they've worked their way up because they've seen it, they've done it. Oh yeah, super. I've just realised the time though. Do you have any other little points you'd like to cover prior to us wrapping up?
I hope I don't get a lot of hate for my opinion on that.
No, listen. I think it's a very valid and it's a very important topic to cover and give your opinion. And the reason being is there will be a lot of maybe young girls listening to this that might, or young boys as well, that might want something done and haven't done the appropriate research. Because when I was young and I wanted a tattoo, the first thing that I would do is click on Google, and the first link that came up, I would go, that's where I want a tattoo.
Advertiser's dream.
Yeah, this guy looks cool. Like, why not? But it's a very important topic to bring up, and I wouldn't get scared of to have an opinion is to be divisive, and when it's amplified by an amount of people watching it, that you're always going to upset people. But it's really important to stay strong to your belief and factually back it up. The facts are these people that are doing these procedures are not licensed, and they've made a cock of it. Hence why a lot of people are going to hospital. Not saying that doctors can't make a cock of it, but I'm going to assume...
I think that's it, isn't it? Because no one is immune to getting complications, but it's about being able to take the steps to minimize those risks. And if anything does happen, being able to recognize it and act quickly on it as well. And also being able to, so for example, if someone got an infection, I can prescribe them antibiotics. I can manage it. So I'm in a position that I can look after you through all stages.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're not in that position, that just, again, it's just another area where that patient isn't potentially being supported.
And you would know what to do if someone had, like, let's say they have an allergic reaction. You're a doctor, you'd know what to do. If someone that wasn't a doctor would be like, I don't really know what's going on. You're having a weird reaction to it. I don't know. It's I could rip this apart all day, to be honest.
Honestly, we could do like 3 hours on regulation and actually how things should be rather than
how they are.
Actually how they are.
Yeah. No, I agree. Well, listen, I just want to thank you for firstly being so open and honest and giving that opinion, because I know it's a hard thing to do, and I know that it's very divisive, and I know that it's it's difficult, especially when you're in an industry, to give an opinion that people could come back to you with rebuttals, shall we say. But I really appreciate that, and I think that a lot of people will take a lot of good out of this podcast from what you've covered. You've gone through how to keep your skin healthy. You're in it for the right reasons, and you're doing it for the right reasons. And I think that kind of it means a lot to people.
I'm glad.
Thank you so much. What I'll do, I know you covered your links below, but I'll link them below as well. So if anyone wants to find them, please just literally click the links below, and your website and Instagram and all that kind of stuff will be there. Facebook as well. And good. Well, thank you so much.
No, all my ladies are old. They love Facebook.
To be
I actually.